Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. This is not CRL League Day 2, but this is going to be a very, very exciting event with some of the biggest creators from all around the globe. Hello, I'm Andrew Guy, joined by Joshua, AC, Sharon, AC. We've got Chaos. We've got 2v2, your specialty. We've got 1v1 in a new meta with a new card. Today is going to be an absolute blast. I have no idea what to expect with Chaos today.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos is going to be incredible. 1v1 is going to be incredible. There is nothing better than 2v2. I am so in love with the game mode. I cannot wait to see it. I can't wait to see the trio with Morton and Big Spin and them, because Morton is just so brilliant when it comes to 2v2. When it comes to the creation, the inventions of decks, when it comes to the gameplay itself, it is going to be so wonderful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have Sam, but he has Trimax, and he has, of course, one of the other biggest creators in the world in Big Spin. They've played a lot together, so we got a little bit of business to get to, and then we got a lot of action coming your way. First off, let's talk about the rewards, people. We all know that you guys are here to watch some incredible gameplay, but we also know that you want your rewards. AC, what do the people got coming their way?
That's right. Rewards are the greatest thing that have ever been introduced to these shows, because it is just everybody is happy. The players are happy. The viewers are happy. That's great. After 60 minutes, you get a 2-star reward. After 120, you get Dose. You get 2 of them. 160 minutes into the stream, we got a banner. And after the last match, what even is that? Is that another banner? Is that
it's like the design that goes over the banner.
Okay, there we go.
I still don't know exactly what those are called several years later, but that's okay. That's okay. We love having them. I always like getting the new ones, and I actually really like the aesthetic of these graphics they're releasing with the Ronin. Pretty awesome here. All right, guys, here is our format. 4 teams, 3 players per team, 2 creators, and 1 pro to lock things down, to help with that 2v2, to help with that 1v1. And I'm actually curious who the best Chaos players are going to be on each team. As you can see, each team plays 3 matches with a total of 6 matches coming your way. 1 point per win, no draws, and the team with the most points at the end of the day wins. And as you guys can see, with the Chaos mode, 2v2, and standard mode, there's going to be different ways the teams are broken down, or the way that the matches are coming your way. Creator versus creator, pro versus pro, creator versus creator, so on and so forth. Very excited to see how these duos match up. So we have rewards for you guys watching, but we also have rewards for those competing, and this is no small prize pool, AC, for a creator event.
Yeah, I mean, this is a ridiculous prize pool. We got $50,000 in total. All these players are going to be so happy with that little that paycheck coming in after the games are over. We should see a lot of great things today, because, you know, $50,000. I'm going to be doing whatever I can. I'm going to be creating 2v2. I'm going to be creating Chaos decks. I'm going to be going all out, and I expect these players to do so as well.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want a huge payday on, technically, their day off? Like, for instance, with the team, the Juicy Goblins. I know that Juicy does not usually stream on Sundays. As you can see, Juicy, Nagla, and Surgical Goblin on that team. Nagla has, like, 7 million subscribers on his YouTube. Absolutely insane. Team Triple Giant, because they are all giant, as we have seen. Big Spin, Morton, and Trimax, the Germans there. We have Predicteiros, Artube, Nobru, Pedro. I mean, I think Pedro is kind of like the X factor there on that team. You know, you literally have a top probably 3 to 5 player in the world when it comes to 1v1, but as you said, there's 2v2, and of course, Chaos mode. And then we got Trevor, Benihu, and Bale going to be bringing it out with Gatitos con Mewing. Very exciting stuff there. AC, with these teams, anyone that pops out to you as kind of the front runner, and maybe one is the underdog on the day?
Yeah, I mean, front runner, I think it's pretty obvious. I think it has to be Triple Giant. I think the 2v2 game mode is going to set them apart from every other team. I think they're going to be able to just get a guaranteed win every single time it's 2v2. I would be shocked if they lost even just 1 set. And then I think you have to be looking at Pedro's team when it comes to the underdog, the dark horse.
Okay.
Because just Pedro can carry. He's the best player. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the rest of your team. Sometimes you have the best player, you're going to win the tournament.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot in the World Cup. But here we go with the schedule coming your way, guys. We're going to see all the matches on the right side of your screen. As you can see, 3 rounds, 6 different matches coming your way with, of course, 3 sets per match. You're going to see every single one of these teams twice, which is really exciting. And of course, these creators should be streaming on their own channels and their own respective languages. So if you don't want to hang out with AC and I, which you should, because, you know, why wouldn't you want to? You can also go watch some of your favorite creators out there in the world. We have a lot of fun action coming your way for the next few hours on this beautiful Sunday. At least it's beautiful here in Los Angeles, and it's going to be beautiful on the screen, because getting back to the game modes, getting back to what we're going to see, first match, the Juicy Goblins going up against exactly what you were talking about in the underdog team, Predicteiros. It's hard because I almost feel like it's going to be Bale and Benny and Trevor as the unknown kind of, you know, you talk about Pedro being the best player, probably, I mean, definitely in 1v1 on that squad. I think that gives them a slight edge over this team, whereas Bale's very good at 1v1. Benny, who is obviously a former world champion, he's a great 2v2 player, so I think he's going to be the one kind of captaining that ship. I don't know anything about Trevor, and I don't know anything about all of their synergy together. I don't know about their chemistry working together. So I'm going to put that as my underdog. I think, just to be contrarian, I'll maybe go that the Juicy Goblins is my front runner. I know that Juicy gets psychotic over these creator events. Yeah. He wins like almost all of them, which is always so impressive to me. He always places very high in them. And then I know Surgical has been grinding. He's been getting very close to making the CRL monthly finals. I know that he's back to loving the game. I know that he has time to play the game. I know he's creating content. So I'm very, very curious to see how all of these squads go. Remember, guys, we are here. This is not a CRL event, but make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, as we do have a CRL monthly final coming your way in just a few weeks. We are getting closer and closer to World Finals. We're getting closer and closer to figure out who all is going to be there. AC, how much C.H.A.O.S Mode have you actually played?
You know, I haven't played as much as I want to. I expect the following weeks that I will be playing constantly. I grinded for the last session of C.H.A.O.S. It is just such a great game mode. Yeah. You know, it's fun, it's exciting. And my favorite part about C.H.A.O.S is that the excuse is already built in. You know, they got the better, they got the better choices. I did not. I had to, you know, yeah. So that's all it is. I love C.H.A.O.S.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously for you guys at home that maybe haven't played C.H.A.O.S Mode yet, you know, it's a different set. It's a set amount of cards. I believe it's 50 cards out there in the deck pool. You make a deck like normal. There's all the towers that are available, the 3 different types of towers. And the way that it works is that you get different rarities of multipliers that pop up just under a minute, about 50 seconds per multiplier that comes up. And then obviously that multiplier is going to apply to a card. That card gets an insane buff. Like, I remember the first time I ever played against like an Expo when it shot the Sparky shots. And I was like, first of all, I'm dying laughing because it just looks absolutely insane on the screen. And I got 3 crowned in like 20 seconds with that. It was, I had no response. So I'm very curious to see how these decks are going to be built, because, you know, when you look at something like Royale API, there are the most popular decks out there in the world that maybe have the best modifiers, or maybe even when you don't get the highest level rarity modifier, the lower level ones are still strong. There's obviously still the deck synergy there. There's your comfortability with the cards. There's just so many factors that go into it. And like you said, and the towers have twice as much health. And yeah, like you said, the excuse is already built in. You know, you have to be watching what your opponent's modifiers are and how to respond to them. And we should have someone on production that is regularly showing us what the modifiers that were selected on screen. And then every now and then you might see, oh, well, why does the red team have 4 modifiers and the blue team only have 3 modifiers? That's if the same cards pops up, the same card is up for modifiers, it will replace the old modifier if they believe that the new one is stronger. So we should be getting into the action in just a little bit. I'm very, very excited about this. You and I have our favorites and our underdogs. When it comes to the actual game at hand, in the sense of not C.H.A.O.S Mode, have you been playing with Ronin at all? A card that's just brand new, introduced into the game. I think when people first saw it, they thought it was going to be super overpowered. Obviously, I feel like it's settled a little bit. What are your first thoughts on the Ronin?
Yeah, I played it a little bit, but my opponents have played it a lot. It's been pretty exciting to try and figure out how to get around it. It's
Yeah.
so powerful, and I love Lava Hound decks. So I'm gonna throw all these air targeting units or just air support cards at it, and I'm not really gonna struggle with it. But it's a great card. It's a lot of fun. I don't think it's too overpowered whatsoever. I think it's pretty healthy. And I'm excited to see it just in real competitions. I'm excited to see like these actual pros use it, so that way I can learn. That way I can know just which matchups it wins when it's placed at the bridge, when it's with your tower helping. I think there's a lot we can learn from this.
Yeah, I agree. I think I actually think it's in a pretty good spot coming into the game. I almost wonder if I think it's just in a good spot. I was going to say I almost wonder if it needs to be a little bit stronger, but I don't think so. I don't think that a card coming into the game should just immediately dominate the meta. I think it's been really interesting to see how it synergizes with decks that have struggled against like I see it working really, really well with Hog EQ. I see it working well in like certain grave. It's just interesting. It's just kind of replaced cards here and there. Like for me with Mortar, there's been that Rascals Cannon Cart deck that's been really popular for a while. I saw people trying to replace Cannon Cart with it. I tried it. It didn't really synergize that well for me. I think it works really well in Hog EQ because of running into things like P.E.K.K.A, like Mega Knight. It counters those cards really well. I do think it's interesting, like you said, kind of figuring out ways to work around it, because it's so much about getting that parry out of the way first for your heavier hitting card to do the damage next. I do wonder if maybe over time that parry reset will be extended by like a half a second or something like that, just making it just a little bit longer, because it is insane how much it can do against something like I was just mentioning, a P.E.K.K.A or a Mega Knight, which I know a lot of people in mid-ladder are having issues with or have had issues with for a long time. And then now you have a great way to kind of deal with that, or charging princes, dark or regular prince. So it's really interesting. We are about to hop into the match, guys. First matchup of the day. As we said, we're going to have every single team that you guys want to see is going to be placed twice today. There's 1 point awarded per game win, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the day will get a chunk of that $50,000 prize. I think even last place is like $9 grand.
Yeah.
So it's like, just for showing up, you get $3,000 for being here. So that's not a bad way to go. And yeah, we're about to start here in just a minute, guys.
I'm hoping they like misunderstood that part and we get 3,000 as well. So that's my fingers crossed moment right there.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't think it's gonna go that way, but yeah, fingers crossed for me as well. I'm actually just hoping for good rewards, because that is one of my favorite things to do on the broadcast, is just to get some good rewards. My account is actually getting pretty close to max, so I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Really?
Almost level 16 everything.
I mean, what does that mean? Like over 100 cards?
Like almost every card now. It's the gold, actually. I'm actually starting to run out of gold, which is something that I never thought I was ever going to say. I never thought that sentence was going to come out of my mouth like a year ago. So we're about to hop in. We're waiting on players to accept for their first match. Some of these guys have never really played in this format. When you talk about some of the creators that are coming into it, like Nobru, like Nogla, I'm very curious to see how these guys play. It's always interesting. You and I are so familiar with so many of these players for so long. So here we go. Creator Showdown League, game number 1, match number 1. First thing we're going to see, it looks like we got a Ronin on the bottom and an Ewiz at the top. Excited to see what they are going to do here. And it looks like the Ewiz is going to be spawning 3 Electro Spirits. Okay, I think that's kind of like an okay modifier. Nothing too crazy to start the day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely one of the weaker ones. It's still all right. So not the end of the world, but definitely want some stronger ones. It's going to be exciting to see what the Ronin ability is going to be, though.
Yeah. Hopefully we can, I wonder if production will click on that. We got the next Chaos here coming in 5 seconds. You guys can see those towers. Level 11, but with twice as much HP as normal. I know Barb Hut has been really popular as one of the modifiers, or one of the cards to be modified out there. I actually
right
really
there,
like throwing in the least experienced guys into Chaos. I think it
Yeah.
makes the most sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Right there, that was a slight mistake from Nagla. If you noticed, he put the barb hut down, and then immediately the modifier came up. Nowadays, we have the new introduction with this new Chaos, and it'll show you the seconds until the next Chaos. So you want to make sure that you're getting the timing right with that.
That's a great call there. Just might as well hold it, see if it's going to get modified, and then place it, especially your most expensive card on the board.
Right here,
So
this
the
might
knight-
be over. I don't know what Nobru is going to be able to do with this.
So Ronin has the reduced parry cooldown, which is already insane. The Knight is going to be spawning Mega Knights, as you guys can see on the board. You get random skeleton troops from the graveyard, which is pretty exciting. But Nagla, as you said, AC, really running it right now. He's got 2 Mega Knights, a Ronin on the board. I have no idea how Nobru is going to bounce back from this. And honestly, he looks a bit stunned at the moment. He's probably like, what is this game mode?
Yeah, it's always hilarious when you've got like a 25 elixir push and then you just go offensive goblin barrel, and so I can respect that Nobru threw that out there right then.
So it looked like his final modifier was a 5-chain E-Wiz, and dude, this is gonna be such a blast. This is gonna be so much fun. Okay, so thinking back, we have to do our job still. Okay, we can't just laugh. What? I mean, I think you said it pretty well. When there's a 25 elixir push on the board, I don't know if offensive goblin barrel is the way to go. Do you think it was just the gameplay, or do you think it was also the modifiers being better for Nagla?
Yeah, I really do think there were some pretty weak modifiers up top. The E-Wiz plus the E-Spirits, it's strong, but once these cards get evolved and once they become, you know, genuinely powerful, it just does not do nearly enough.
Yeah.
You know, let's say you're stopping E-Barbs or something. The E-Spirits are great. It's going to stop it for a half a second, but the E-Barbs are still going to make it to your E-Wiz, or they're still going to make it to the tower. And then there was also, you know, we're not expecting the greatest gameplay, but there were definitely some misplacements coming. And I think the Mega Knight was getting splashed on a troop and a Tesla at one point. And it's weird, but it's almost more important about placements of your troops and your cards in Chaos, just because one tiny mistake, game snowballs and the game's over in 40 seconds.
I mean, that was pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed. I didn't even know there was that much to say about breaking down Chaos, but that's why you're here. Yeah, so that was the creator versus creator. Now we're going to go over to pro versus pro, which I think is going to be really, really interesting because you know these guys have been grinding. It looks like the pro that's coming out for the Juicy Goblins is going to be Surgical Goblin himself, which you love to see. Always love to see Surge on the broadcast. It's been a few years, and you know, we got Pedro top of your screen. Looks like the Ronin is going to deflect projectiles, which is pretty cool. And you know these guys are going to definitely play very, very clean Clash, and the Knight is going to stun on attack, which is actually a very strong modifier in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely one of the stronger ones. And
The
Pedro...
other thing too about Chaos, sorry to cut you off, is like you can feel like you're winning, and then your opponent gets an insane modifier that just completely crushes you. I've had many games where it just turns on a dime.
Yeah, it's always really fun when you kind of just lose the game in the first 20 seconds, the first push, and you're like, all right, if I make it to if I make it to double elixir, I'm gonna get that one powerful boost, and just the game gets flipped. Especially when the E-Wiz was running rampant last C.H.A.O.S Mode. All you would have to do is wait till those final 30 seconds. If you get it, you have one little shot. That's what, you know, we could potentially be seeing with this, especially because these guys are just so talented overall. Even though it is a crazy game mode, both of these players are going to be playing well.
5 Zappies when Surge drops the Zappies, which is going to be fascinating to see. And then we have the Ronin with the reduced parry cooldown. Obviously, the Knight still with the stun, and 20 more seconds until the next Chaos modifier. Shout out to production, who is just on top of this. Really appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah, good timing with the E-Wiz from Pedro. He was able to put it all the way in the back and then catch every single goblin as it was spawning into the map. Both of these players are using just very strong, very powerful decks. Not trying to get too cute with how they're setting everything up. You really expect Pedro to be running bait pretty much every single time in this game mode, because both the bush and the goblin barrel are just going to be so strong if you get the right upgrade.
So spawning mini Sparkies now is the Zappies, which is going to replace the old 5 Zappies coming down. There's the reflection on the projectile. What a great play there from Surgical Goblin, which I didn't even think about as a projectile, the Goblin Barrel. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so Pedro's going to have to make sure that he doesn't really abuse the Goblin Barrel boosts. Because if he does, the Ronin is always going to deflect and just win the game outright for him.
You can see him, Pedro, start to kind of laugh as he was like, man, I just had to spend to stop the 2 Sparkies on the right. But there's another parry with the projectile fireball as Pedro's just cracking up. This is amazing, man. This is so fun and so, I mean, this is chaos. This is absolutely madness. Pedro now, Surgical's playing really, really well. I mean, the timing on his Ronins is really good. His dual lane pressure is insane. He's getting 3 Goblin Brawlers now coming out of the Goblin Barrel, which is actually horrifying. I don't know how Pedro's going to bounce back from this.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not right here. This right tower is probably going down. The Zappies are coming down. Really good recognition from Surgical. I thought he did a great job of resetting on that third use of the abilities, because the Zappies paired with the Ronin was just magnificent. Pedro just could not set up a push, and then he could not just throw pushes at the tower. Those two worked really well together.
This is great. You just keep breaking it down. I'm going to keep cracking up, because the moment that I see 3 mini Sparkies on the board with 6 Goblin Brawlers on the other side, Surge had great modifiers in that game. Like, he had really good ones. He did a great job picking them, obviously. And then, yeah, the Ronin ability was actually shocking how many times he was able to pull that off. I think we saw 2 barrels and a fireball that was reflected, which, you know, obviously there is still a conversation about staying at an elixir advantage, which that is the, I mean, you know, when we normally are talking about 1v1 and you get a monk ability that reflects something, even once in a game is absolutely huge, and it can turn it on a dime, even if it's something as small as like a bar barrel or a log. And then you see right there in the Chaos game mode, the fireball's bouncing back, the Goblin Barrel's bouncing back, and then, yeah, the 3 Goblin Brawlers coming out of the barrel is absolutely insane to see. The mini Sparkies. The Zappies clearly are a fan favorite when you talk about their modifiers and how strong they are. Zappy's already one of the best utility and defensive cards in the game, and now you can see how aggressive they can become. Or even defensively, if you get 5 of them down, that's tough to break through. We saw Pedro having to use his fireball on those as they were crossing the river, because it just completely clogs up the lane.
Yeah, I mean, Zappies are great because even if you don't get the upgraded abilities with them, all you're doing is trying to slow things down on your side of the map to allow your powerful troops to start taking out troops. So even if they don't get upgraded, they're still just an overall relatively strong card.
Yeah. Yeah, so right now the Juicy Goblin's doing really well. We haven't seen Juicy himself yet, so we should be seeing him next going up against R-Tube, which will be interesting. R-Tube, one of the biggest creators in the world. He's also become a commentator for CRL, which is super cool there, and I'm excited to see one of our fellow commentators, Juicy, and how he has embraced the Chaos mode. Again, you know, he's a super competitive dude. He always puts in the time and the grind to do the best in these events, so I'm excited to see what he does in Chaos. And then, of course, we will be going to 2v2, and then following that, standard 1v1, 3 points to be had here in this set. 2 of them already going to the Juicy Goblins, and 2 pretty dominant wins, honestly, even though game 2 was against Pedro, who we know is one of the best players in the world. Here we go, final Chaos game of this said match, which makes me a little sad, but we'll be back to it, of course. Juicy going with the Knight. R2 going with Suspicious Bush, which we've seen a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bush is probably the strongest card in the game. I think its modifiers are just ridiculous. And again, we're seeing pretty much the same concept as we've seen from game 1 and 2 from both of these players. Juicy leaning towards more of the control poison, and R-Tube playing the hyper bait. Let's just get as many OP cards as we can on the board. and both these players running Ronin, it definitely feels like Ronin is a top 10 card in the Chaos mode.
Yeah, I mean, getting like an active monk ability at all times is such a fascinating, you know, modifier. And then when you talk about just like reducing the parry time, it already feels like the parry time is so short. Right now, the modifiers on screen, the vines from R-Tube are going to, or excuse me, the Suspicious Bush is going to drop vines upon reveal. And as you can see, Juicy picking the 150% enemy slowdown with the poison there, which they both took with poison. With his first modifier, the Knight, it's going to get 200% HP, but it's going to move at half the pace. So it's just become kind of like a an offensive golem. You know what I mean? Like it's very slow, but it still has the ability to obviously attack troops.
Yeah, I mean, that Knight was probably like 50% health crossing the bridge. He took his time, took 15 to 20 seconds to make it to the tower, but he got 1,800 damage. So, I mean, it's pretty incredible how strong some of these cards get. And you really just have to be careful. You have to be looking at everything. I think Chaos is really cool because it kind of teaches you how to really look at the map overall and focus on everything at once. I think if you use it properly, it can actually really help you improve at the game.
And Juicy getting an epic modifier there. It looks like both of them did. He gets 4 Goblin Brawlers out of the vines, which is insane. That's going to be a decent response, what R-Tube's gotten in the Knight spawning a Mega Knight, but that Suspicious Bush from Juicy is going to be very scary.
Yeah, I mean, he should just start throwing it out as often as he can. These Mega Knights are going to do something, but they're not super strong against him. Because once those brawlers wake up, I mean, it's just too easy to take out the Mega Knight, and they're still just roaming free.
Yeah, that was a perfect example right there. Brawler still does get on top of the tower. Juicy very happy about that. R2 probably starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed at this moment. I feel like Juicy's getting some better modifiers, or at least picking them better at the moment.
Yeah, and right there, I believe that's the Lumberjack spawn, unless something's changed from it. And okay, he's got his own Goblin Brawlers that are spawning, so we've got ourselves a game once again.
Yeah, the Brawler's just wreaking havoc on both sides of the board. R-Tube taking the one that Surgical took last game. He's getting 3 Brawlers, and he's starting to abuse it already. Juicy recognized that a little bit late, and as you can see, he's starting to run away with it. But Juicy takes a tower. R-Tube takes a tower. This is going to a 2-tower game. Brawlers on both sides of the board, but Juicy's are very healthy on the King. And it looks like that Suspicious Bush in the pocket is going to do it for Juicy. He gets the 2 crown. He gets the 3 crown. Very, very well played by the Juicy Goblins, who sweep in our Chaos mode. It's gonna be so funny for us to change gears from going from Chaos, at least, and then to 2v2 and then 1v1, because it does obviously feel like 1v1 is the farthest. I mean, that's what we live in CRL. Chaos is the farthest thing away, so we're going to get a nice little buffer of 2v2 in the middle, which is going to be really exciting. I mean, obviously, you're a 2v2 specialist, one of the best 2v2 players in the history of Clash Royale League, so it'll be cool to see what these guys do. Before we move on, any final thoughts on what we thought about Chaos mode? And it looks like Brawlers are pretty dominant in Chaos mode.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can spawn one of those Brawlers, you click it. The only time you have a decision is when it's between the Goblin Barrel and it's between the Bush. But at the end of the day, because Ronin is so popular and because everybody's going to be choosing a Reflection, just Bush is the strongest card in the game. You start with that in your #1 slot, and then you build around it. I think that's how you should be building Chaos decks. And that's kind of what I expect to see, at least for the rest of the day. I feel like most of these players, and really all of them, could have used it. I can't really remember, but I think that's just the #1 card in the Chaos mode.
Yeah, and I think, you know, going to like a little bit faster cycle, because once you get those cards with the crazy modifiers, you want to be able to just spam them as much as possible. Just get back around for as cheap as possible through 4 cards. I feel like that's what we saw both those guys do. That's how R-Tube was able to take that tower with his barrels. It felt like that first barrel was out. And even before, I mean, maybe right after the 3 Brawlers went down, there was another barrel out, which is how he's able to take the tower. And then Juicy, on the other side of that conversation, was just, like, as you're saying, AC, just spam that Suspicious Bush, get as many of those down as possible, get him on the King, get him in the pocket, take out that second Princess Tower. So I'm excited to see how the meta of Chaos evolves throughout the rest of today. Shout out to the team, though, for creating such a fun mode and for
Yeah.
having an event like this because, you know, as much as we love casting CRL, it is fun to have something just completely out of left field. And, you know, a lot of times when people are talking about watching best of 3 dual mode, best of 5 dual mode, the average player at home can't really replicate what that feels like. Anyone can play Chaos. Anyone can build these decks. It's all tournament standard. So I imagine we're going to see probably an uptick in players playing Chaos mode and picking out their meta decks from what we see throughout today. So going into 2v2, you know, it's putting you on the spot a little bit, but kind of thinking about the game and the meta that we're in right now. Any thoughts on what could be not necessarily what they're going to play, but maybe like what you would lean into in 2v2 if you had to be a mastermind or a deck builder at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I'm not really gonna have that great an answer. You know, certain cards. I'm gonna try. You know, certain cards that were really powerful. So, for example, the giant skeleton used to be incredible because it would block up the lane. Nothing could get past it. But now we have that smaller giant skeleton. The bomb is a little bit weird now. So that's something that you kind of have to watch out for. I always like Balloon Freeze, Graveyard Freeze. I think we could be seeing something like that. I don't expect to see a lot of air supporting cards just because Executioner is so powerful. And I like this from Pedro and Nobru. I think it's really strong to be using just bait whenever you can in 2v2.
So not getting the King Tower activation there. Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking about is I wonder how much Ronin we're going to see with like Beatdown. You know, Ronin going to be able, I mean, that's maybe why Inferno's coming out as a way to just kind of cover if you do run into Lava or Golem, which is pretty popular. Now Ronin does absolutely nothing to the Inferno. So yeah, we'll have to see. I like your call as well. You know, bringing out bait is one of the things we've always talked about over the years is like, with these fast cycle decks in 2v2, you can kind of exploit the weaknesses of maybe communication or maybe the less seasoned player. And we are seeing a little bit of what we were just talking about, you know, Executioner being super strong, Golem being pretty firmly in the meta at the moment. We'll see what Pedro and Nobru have to respond in terms of being able to take down that big pile of rocks.
Yeah, one important thing is to see how these players are setting up their decks. Which players are taking the tornadoes, which players are taking the aggressive, the towers. There's a reason why Surgical has the tornado and it's not going to be Nagla. He has a lot more confidence with it. And right there on that previous possession, the Pedro's team threw a Goblin Barrel, and we saw Nagla overspend with arrows on defense, even though the Executioner was already cleaning up. We're going to be seeing a lot of that with these 2v2 games. The pros are going to do a lot, but they can't do everything. Sometimes they have to trust their teammates, and sometimes they're going to play beautifully, and sometimes they're going to make mistakes.
And a bit of a mistake defensively there. Probably just better to hold the barrel and make sure you're going to clean up all those skellies. And yeah, Ronin does a great job against those charging princes.
This definitely makes sense, and I don't believe that. Yeah, the E-Spirit did not chain onto the Inferno Dragon. I was pretty shocked by that. Nobru gonna bring the troops over if he can to the right side, but the Brazilians are a little bit low on elixir, and with this offensive tornado, there's something going.
It's a good play there with the Skeleton Barrel to turn everything around. Does kite the Baby Dragon for one shot. Baby Dragon just got a buff most recently. I don't even know. That's one of the cards that I actually don't think needed a buff was the Baby Dragon, but Baby Dragon did get one. Going to be even stronger, even more frustrating to deal with. Baby Dragon has always been one of those cards that does just enough damage and has just enough HP to really put you in an uncomfortable position because it is cheap enough. Sometimes you don't want to spend on it. Sometimes you do need to let it go. 1181 down to 1485. Now down to 916 are the Brazilians.
Yeah, I think this is too much. I don't think the Brazilians have enough, and it's GG. A beautiful deck. I love Golem in 2v2, especially when both players aren't on the same skill level. You can really, the game is slow enough where you can have the pro kind of teach them what they want, kind of just down on the map. Whether they want to set up their official pushes, whether they want to reset, it allows you to have enough time to communicate and get the right pushes going.
Yeah, that's a great call that you make about, you know, when you are doing pro versus creator, you want to maybe take advantage of the decks that are a little bit slower for more coaching to come through, which I think is a really, really great way of putting it because, you know, we don't have any I mean, I guess it's interesting because Juicy is technically a creator, right? And same with Bale and Benny, who, you know, there's like a little ways, and again, we haven't seen the Germans yet, which I think is going to be fascinating in 2v2 like you were talking about, but to really exploit the true pro versus a true creator situation, I think what you're saying with those heavier decks is a great way to go. It gives you a little bit more time to coach, and then yeah, in terms of spell power and decision making, you want to make sure that you are giving your creator the highest margin of error spots to be in, right? So if they do make a mistake, it doesn't cost you guys too much. If they do misplace a unit or a tornado or something like that, it isn't just the end of the game. So so far the Juicy Goblins though have been perfect on the day. They picked up all 3 Chaos games, picked up the first 2v2 here. Now we're going to go to a straight up creator battle in the 2v2. So we're going to see Juicy and Nogla, I believe is how it'll be based off of what we just saw in the first game, going up against it'll be Nobrew and Nobrew and R-Tube, which I think in that situation you really do have to give the advantage once again to the Juicy Goblins. I mean, I think that's what's really interesting. Again, talking about building these teams, it does feel like the Brazilians might be at a bit of a disadvantage because of the creator moniker that a lot of these ex-pros have taken on, or someone like Big Spin or Trimax, who are like exceptional creator players. You know, they are literally, I mean, Big Spin is like, he's always live, you know, he literally is, you know, and Trimax, I've seen him play in competitive events more and more over the years, and he's a very, very good player. So I'm curious to see how this next matchup is going to go between these 4 creators, knowing that Juicy is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really exciting. I've got a lot of faith and a lot of trust in Juicy when it comes to 2v2. You know, sometimes, even if your teammate isn't nearly as skilled, it's important for them to have the right attitude. And so Juicy is skilled. He is very talented with this, but he's also just so easy to work with. Those are the guys that you're going to be able to push to top 100 global, you know, to get on these crazy win streaks. Because if you make a mistake, you're going to hear in your ear, hey man, it's all good. And if they make a mistake, you want to make sure you're doing it for them as well. That's why Juicy is definitely one of those players that you just love having as a 2v2 partner.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make there. I mean, a lot of it is about that chemistry that you have with one another, the support that you're going to be getting from your 2v2 partner, and yeah, Nogla and Juicy together. Obviously, you know, Surgical speaks great English, but I think this is a way where Juicy can just straight up captain this team, captain this 2v2. You know, it looks like Nogla's said very, very little. Juicy's been talking almost the entire time, so I like him being that kind of positive voice and the captaining of this ship here in 2v2, even though they are down a bit. I mean, this is interesting. Nobrew and R-Tube doing a great job with this bait deck, this double bait deck. You know, barrels on both sides. You see one with the Princess, the Evo Princess, one with the Dark Goblin. They're just going to keep up the pressure, play hyper aggressive. And on the other side of the conversation about who's captaining that 2v2 squad, you can see it's definitely R-Tube here calling all the shots.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see if it's going to be Loon Freeze or Graveyard Freeze. I'm hoping that it's going to be one of them. And you know what? I was watching one of the YouTube videos from Nogla last night, and it was actually him and Juicy playing 2v2s. And they were running this giant skeleton clone skeleton barrel deck. There's a chance that they could be running that once again right here.
Yeah, and I actually really like giving Mirror to Nogla, right? It gives him one less card to kind of have to learn the mechanics of, to the level of these guys that, you know, that know the mechanics of every single card inside and out. You know, now he only has to have 7 cards that he knows how to play perfectly. So you see him using it there, I believe, on the arrows, which I think is just a great call, right? Like, give your newer player less to learn, less to work with, less cards to master, so he can be more effective with them. I think Mirror is a really interesting card to see in 2v2, but I really like it being in the hands of a creator.
And right there, that giant skeleton's making it to tower. It's not going to... The Valve does nothing, and the clone! And the clone! This tower is gone completely.
Yeah, that is a huge clone coming through. Juicy's got the clone. They both got the clone. Nogla's got the mirror. The arrow's doing great work on both sides. We saw the game start off with a perfect King Tower activation. As you said, AC, you got to give that NATO to Juicy. Juicy, one of the better graveyard players in the world. He's also a huge E-Giant player. He spent so much time with that NATO, and you can see Juicy is hyped up. A very dominant game number 2 there, and so far the Juicy Goblins untouched through our first 5 games of the day. AC, first of all, I love that you were putting in the homework last night, watching these guys work some 2v2. Great synergy there. I really like the deck. I love seeing, you know, I mean, as much as I hate playing against Giant Skeleton Clone, even with the nerf that happened, great plays from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Giant Skeleton is that it doesn't matter if your opponent has the perfect defense, because it's just one of those cards that every once in a while, your opponent is going to make a mistake. You're not going to play 5 minutes of Perfect Clash every single game, especially when, you know, so much money is on the line. You're already down 0-4 overall. You want something that's kind of standard, and you want to be able to win. I love that they ran this deck together in game number 5 of the tournament, because they have all the momentum. They think their opponents are going to make mistakes, and Giant Skeleton is just the perfect card when you have that kind of situation occurring.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going back here and looking at the deck composition here, and you look at Juicy has the Golden Knight, Juicy has the Executioner, Juicy has the NATO, and Juicy has the defensive building in the Goblin Cage, right? Then you look at what Nogla's got. Very straightforward plug-and-play cards. Cards that are very easy to understand. You have the Lumberjack, right? Put him on the board when you need him defensively or when you need to, you know, rage up a push. The Giant Skeleton. The Barrel, cheap. Skeleton Barrel is cheap, but it still can be defensive. It can be offensive. The Arrows, the Clone, and the Mirror. But then otherwise, it's just the Wizard, which is I feel like the Wizard is a very, and it's the Evo Wizard, very easy to understand card. It is expensive enough, but it's probably going to be played defensively. So Juicy can just like, all right, let's wizard that on defense, or let's support this push. You know, they're just very kind of binary cards. They're just place them on the board, let them do their thing. All the Evos work in their own way. The only thing is the hero Goblins, but it's so cheap, right? Yep. The ability is cheap. The Goblins are cheap. And it's a card that even with never using the ability is still effective in the game. So you're giving Nogla very, very little very little chance to make a big misplay, which I really like. Very easy to understand cards, and then it's like, oh, clone this, mirror that, mirror arrows this, and that was a lot of fun. That was a very, very well made deck, and it is cool to see in these events how much of our conversation is about making your lesser player be able to succeed, right, or excel the most, whereas like obviously in old school 2v2 you're both supposed to be pretty even in terms of how well you can play, and so things are obviously more about misplays and things like that, as opposed to in something like this where it's like, how do we make it the easiest as possible on the creator? And that's kind of what we're going to see here, is we have 4 very, very seasoned veterans of the game playing against one another.
Yeah, the difference in skill that I'm already seeing in the first 45 seconds is pretty insane. Great timing with the log plus Fire Spirit, the log to push the Firecracker back and reset it, and then the Fire Spirit to get there in time. Beautiful NATO right there. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be seeing some great gameplay right here.
2763, 2906, but the Juicy Goblins do already have a King Tower activation. We're seeing 3 Firecrackers on the board, all of them Evo Firecrackers, so that's going to be a lot of fun to see as this game kind of moves on.
A little bit unlucky for Pedro and R2, but not going to matter. Firecracker not going to get to the tower, and I mean, Surgical and Juicy are just defending this really easily. They're not really struggling whatsoever to stop these drills. A lot of it's going to depend on the spells, though. You know, we're gonna see once it hits double and triple if it's going to be the poison spam or if it's going to be the rocket spam. It's really just player preference a lot of the times.
And a nice log plus knight there to deal with that Evo Bomber at the bridge. Juicy and Surge playing pretty much a shutout at the moment. And going to be a nice activation there to get the guard on top of tower and the knight on top of tower. Makes that mighty miner have to come out. Synergy here, the chemistry between these two guys is perfect.
Yeah, right here, simple defense, Firecracker plus Phoenix, and this is when one of these big pushes come out and the game can flip on its head. Even though they're defending this well, I mean, they're still getting a decent amount of chip damage.
Yeah, the Golden Knight ability there, maybe not, didn't do as much as I think the Juicy Goblins wanted. I think maybe you probably play the Golden Knight a little bit later once there's more goblins on the tower, and then you can make sure you get that huge chain. The Golden Knight there only hit a couple of the goblins as opposed to like 6 of them.
Yeah, and right there. Both of these, I mean, when you have a Evo drill in cycle, it is just, you know there's going to be a ton of damage going down on the field. Both of these players, or both of these teams have recognized that it's best pairing up the Evo drills together, so we're going to kind of just continue to see that as this game goes along.
Golden Knight, I love the buff that it got. It definitely has made it so much more impactful in the game than it was for a long time, honestly. There was a moment when it was overpowered, then it felt like it got kind of fixed, and then it has just been a non-factor in Clash Royale for a while. And this should be a great lineup. That's a great Golden Knight plus NATO combo.
Yeah, they're going to be able to stop that, but not before it gets 350 damage on top of the tower. Firecracker getting a shot just by itself. That does not seem like you should be allowing that. Kind of really surprised to see that. And kind of an overspend on defense followed by that.
Yeah, 100%. Great calls there. I agree. That Firecracker just getting through on the left-hand side is kind of unacceptable. And then the drop of the Royal Recruit there, the Royal Delivery, excuse me, was definitely an overspend. AC getting back to exactly what you were talking about. Is it going to be the rocket spam or is it going to be the poison spam? The Juicy Goblins decided to go with both the rocket and the poison. As you can see on the other side of it, the Brazilians have the double poison. And 588 on that top right tower. Poison in. Another Evo drill coming down. Drill goes out on the right-hand side for the Juicy Goblins. Nice defense there on the top right by the Brazilians. Juicy and Surge in a little bit of trouble. 587 to 562. Firecracker at the bridge with the lineup.
Yeah, gotta protect your tower. Going in with the Evo drill. Evo snowball coming in as well. Need the rocket. We're gonna wait for the rocket. Might not even need it. 184. Wow.
That was so close. Man, this is why we love 2v2. I miss seeing great 2v2 battles, and that was a very great 2v2 battle. Obviously, a little bit of misplays here and there. They haven't been working together for a super long time, but in general, I think all 4 of them played very, very well in that 2v2 game. That was a lot of fun to see, and I also love to see that it was kind of like, you know, not quite a mirror matchup, but the same idea on both sides of the board.
Yeah, I thought they did a wonderful job, and I'm talking about both teams, of doing intuitive teamwork, and where like they could do the Firecracker and then they'll NATO everything together, and it's just like 1-2. They don't have to think, they don't have to discuss. It's just like, all right, in this moment, I know what we want, I know what to do. And I thought both teams, just every single player on the field, kind of had a, not necessarily an exact idea, but a really strong idea of what they should be doing. I thought that was a wonderful game right there from both teams.
Yeah, all the chemistry there, the synergy of the players together. I mean, that now I want to see Surge and Juicy going up against the Germans. I feel like that will be a crazy 2v2 battle all throughout their 2v2 set. We are 2/3 of the way through our first match of the day. The Juicy Goblins still have not lost a game. The Brazilians need to pick up a game here in this 1v1 set. And this does feel like this is a moment where, you know, Pedro is kind of in a must-win situation. Anytime he comes into a 1v1 game, it feels like he has to be the guy to win. I imagine, you know, when we look at the way that the set is constructed, it's going to be creator versus creator, pro versus pro, then creator versus creator. I think you probably go Pedro versus Surge? Question mark? Because it's interesting, because I feel like Juicy or Surge could do pretty well. Surgical should be the better 1v1 player. But then if Surge is the better player and Juicy can still give Pedro a run for his money, then if you have Surgical playing against R-Tube, it feels like that's not necessarily an easy win, but I feel like the disparity is larger there in skill level. I feel like Surgical definitely should be able to take out R-Tube. I feel like Juicy is probably still a 1v1, better 1v1 player than R-Tube, but I feel like it's a little closer, right? So I'm curious to see how they want to break this up. I guess technically the way that they have it set up, I'm assuming you can't change who's the pro and who's the creator as the set goes on. So it should be Surge versus Pedro. It should be Juicy versus R-Tube, and it should be Nogla versus Nobru, which will be 3 very, very different and interesting 1v1 games to see.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it before the show, but just because Juicy and Surgical, let's say everybody was listed as a pro on a scale of like 1 to 10, both of those guys are 8 out of 10s, 8.5 out of 10s. And so they are going to be able to win that second match that's important. Sometimes they're going to lose against the opposing pro, but then the other one is always going to be able to clean it up. I don't know. Starting off with 6 straight wins, because all of this just rolls over. It's not just, oh, they won 3-0 in sets. It's going to be they're up 9 points, and that's just going to mean so much as this day goes along.
And so it's exactly what we're talking about. Nogla and Nobru, then Surge versus Pedro, then Juicy versus R-Tube. A very fun 3 1v1s coming your way. It looks like Nobru might be running like 2.6-ish, which is... Okay, no, never mind. Looks more like Royal Hogs.
Yeah, probably going to be Royal Hogs, EQ. Really good timing with the Ice Spirit right there. One of the Skelly Dragons is going to make it to the tower, but not too bad. Nogla on the other side. Interesting deck composition so far.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly what Nobru wants to see. I like getting the cannon out early, and he's going to defend it. So, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They've got some good micro going on. They've got some good macro understanding. It doesn't look like he has much elixir to deal with his Musketeer, though, so he's going to take 3 shots, maybe a 4th one, and the 4th one does come through. So, 23-15 to 21-84 as Nogla goes aggressive with his Battle Ram at the bridge, trying to get around to that Evo.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of damage to be given up on both sides. I don't know if I really hope the Ice Spirit wasn't in cycle, because that was just too much damage to be giving up in that moment.
And Bobby at the bridge, nothing there.
Yeah.
Late Mega Knight. Now I'd go Piggy's opposite. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, he'd be going Piggy's opposite, kiting to the middle with the Skellies of the Ice Spirit, and then activating King. Just didn't have enough time right there to get that set up, though.
Not a bad defense there. 1944 on that left-hand side. Now Nobru in the lead. 11-19 on that bottom left tower after a very nice Archer connection. And this is going to be huge. The zap does come in just a little bit late, but that's going to be a lot of damage through. And the Battle Rams, when you're talking about the delivery, the log, the Ice Spirit, the cannon, going to be a lot of ways to stop that Battle Ram, whether it's evolved or not. A little bit of a misplay there on the Ice Spirit, and some splash damage coming through here on that Princess Tower.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the difference between pros and just everybody else. Pros are going to recognize that, hey, in this moment, I need to stop the left lane. It doesn't matter about the right. Technically, this Bandit and this Musketeer on the right side feel kind of wasted, but, I mean, I might stand corrected. This Musketeer getting a ton of value.
Wow. And another shot comes through. Yeah, this game is very, very close. The Mega Knight comes down. The Earthquake is there. And the Earthquake cycle is in conversation, obviously. So let's spam. Can he defend, though? MK. Oh, wow. My gosh, the Bandit. No way, dude.
Oh, my.
Is that just a naked Bandit at the bridge? It is.
Yes.
Only 3 elixir in the tank, 4 elixir in the tank. We see Skellies and Ice Spirit drop. The Skellies and the Ice Spirit get pulled to the left-hand side. Yeah. Feeling pretty good about your 1v1 skills right now, AC?
I'm feeling a lot better, yeah. I mean, it is incredible. That right side tower got taken out by a lone Musketeer, a lone Musketeer, a lone Bandit. That's how it went down.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I gotta give some shout outs there to Nogla, just recognizing, like, look, you know, I am not playing against a pro. I'm not playing against a top 1%er right now. Dual lane pressure, Even though that Mega Knight was kind of lower on HP, the Skeleton Dragons obviously aren't going to do a ton of damage. He still recognizes, I think my opponent is distracted, or is going to have to pick and choose because they've been overspending a little bit. And then, as you said, 2 Lone Musketeers and a Lone Bandit. I love the way that you said it, too. A little bit of shade there. But comes through and takes that tower when it felt like that game was over. I mean, really, it felt like that game was over. All we needed was it's just a little bit of, you know, turtling up and earthquake cycling, and you're in a great spot. You don't really need to play those piggies to get your opponent an opportunity to get another Mega Knight on the board, to create that dual lane pressure. So yeah, again, this is why we love creator events. It definitely gets to change up the rhythm of even our commentating.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the coolest things about that is that it actually all started with a prediction from Nagla. He threw the Skeleton Dragons on the left side at the Crown Tower, and then at the same time, Noboru was putting the Royal Hogs at the bridge. So he was able to use the Skeleton Dragons plus MK to stop any damage from getting to the tower. And it was just too much. He had too much elixir on the left, too much elixir on the right. It all started because of a prediction. So I do want to give a ton of credit to Nagla right there.
So Surge starts with the Royal Giant in the back that does make its way to the tower. And a large counter push here coming on the left-hand side. Fishboy, E-Spirit, Fireball going to clean that all up, but Surgical down now about 3.5 elixir as this Fishboy is a non-threat.
Yeah, so right here, Pedro's probably going to be running Splash Yard. Last card should be NATO, Poison, and Graveyard. Surgical on the other side. Probably either Log or Bar Barrel, and then probably Hunter as well.
It also looks like, you know, what E-Giant could look like, you know, at the top of your screen. So that is interesting composition there. Monk in the back here as the Hunter's going to deal with everything at the bridge. Dash out of the way, so doesn't have to worry about the chain on tower, although that Golden Knight ability does replenish pretty quickly.
So we should see the ability get popped shortly. Didn't get the right timing. If that had been just a tenth of a second earlier, Skeleton Dragon would have hit itself instead of the Monk. And right there, really solid defense. I mean, Ice Wizard plus NATO is just going to stop every single push.
And now that Baby Dragon has gotten that buff, too, it just becomes so much more. I mean, that combo of Ice Wiz, NATO, Baby Drag is just going to be so strong defensively in the current meta. And it's a Golem. Wow. No E-Giant, no Graveyard. Golem comes down here. So now we're probably expecting that last card to actually be Lightning. And there it is. Monk timing on the push not perfect, so the Golem bursts on tower.
Yeah, giving up a decent amount of damage, getting the tower to sub 2,000. Pedro, just really strong push right there, and he definitely has the momentum right now, but Fisherman can really change the entire game. You can have two equivalent pushes going down on the left side against each other, but the Fisherman just brings the Golem to the right, and all of a sudden this game can just turn on its head. So the use of Fisherman will change the game for Surgical.
And NATO does not get the splash on the tower for the Golden Knight, but still damage coming through, and Surge is just spending an arm and a leg, everything he's got to just defend, and he's down about 4 elixir. No offensive push coming through. Pedro very happy to ignore that on the right-hand side and get a little bit of, no, it doesn't even get the shot in, so perfect plays there from Pedro, and a good opportunity to get back on offense. Surge is just trying to figure out a way for himself to get on offense.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to do anything as of late. Pedro just dominating the control of the board. Good fireball once again. I mean, it feels like these fireballs are the reason why Surge is still in this game. I love what he's done so far.
Yeah, that's a great call. I was going to say, he's been doing a really good job with his fireballs. That Evo Hunter actually doing some nice work as well. Royal Giant should get one shot, and it does. Very even here. Only 10 HP separating these two, and he does get the kite there. Doesn't need to play those skellies, but I think he was kind of panicked for a second that Baby Dragon might not get pulled.
Pretty aggressive RG at the bridge. I don't think it really ever should have a shot of making it to the tower. I feel like the NATO wasn't even needed right there. And Surgical applying enough pressure that potentially Pedro's making mistakes, and that's what you need to do sometimes.
Yeah, and this is just a defend and lightning game out for Pedro now with a 400 plus HP lead. Surge needs to get another Royal Giant down on the board, but Pedro doing a great job of winning these bridge battles like he's playing against Graveyard. Just everything dropped at the bridge. Support, support, support. Don't give any fireball value, and Pedro should be able to take this. RG at the bridge, NATO back, enough time for a fireball and a lightning to come through. Doesn't even need the lightning. 12:07, 15:27, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Pedro is in a must-win situation in every single 1v1 game he plays, and he's able to take it there against Surgical Goblin, our former world champion.
I don't know if that's a laugh because he's proud of himself or a stress relief laugh, but after 8 matches, they are on the board and ready to start the day. So really well done to Pedro in that game.
Yeah, very well played. I like the deck. That's exactly, I think you called both probably, probably more relief than anything of just like, look, we've got to get some points in this first match, and Pedro has got to be the guy to do it in the 1v1 set. He does that in a close game against Surge. It felt like, it was really tough because Pedro did a great job of basically always being in an elixir advantage after the battle was over, when kind of the dust settled, and it was enough of an advantage to where Surgical could not get back on offense. I think if what Surge really wanted or would ideally do in that game is, defend to a point to where he's at least even. Obviously, ideally, he's at a slight elixir advantage, Surgical Goblin, and then he can go opposite lane. But the problem is as the time goes on, he's kind of using his counter pushes to support his Royal Giant because he's got nothing else in the tank. He's forced to keep playing in that left-hand lane because Pedro is playing very aggressive. Even when the Golems weren't on the board, the Golden Knight, the Baby Dragons, those were enough, and the Brawler were enough to kind of create enough offense for Surgical to kind of be on his back foot over and over again. I think he would have loved to be able to switch lanes there, or, just to pull some elixir away, because Pedro was always in a counter push potential with the way he was defending. Very, very strong defensive cards there. So yeah, I like the deck pick from Pedro. I like the play from Pedro, and as you said, finally on the board with only 1 game left in this entire match.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, I think the Fisherman could have been utilized a little bit better. It was too often where the Fisherman pulled the Golem into the middle, and then it was still going to the left lane. And so, like, every once in a while, the Hunter's kind of long-range targeting the Golem and not working on the right troops. So I think there could have been a little bit stronger of defense on Surgical's side. But at the end of the day, can't play perfect every single game, and they still have to be very content with what's going on and how their team has been playing.
Yeah, I mean, only dropping 1 game, because C.H.A.O.S in 2v2 with the creators only. I mean, again, when we're talking about the creator situation on some teams, creator versus pro combo, creator versus creator together, there still are advantages to specific squads. But just the way the Juicy Goblins have played, not losing any games in C.H.A.O.S, I think, is probably one of the biggest takeaways that you can get in the way that this competition is constructed. They got through C.H.A.O.S no problem. They got through 2v2 no problem. I think you always should expect to have the potential to lose 1 or 2 games in the 1v1 set, just depending on which squad you're going up against. And again, with the Brazilians there, the Predicteiros, it's just... Pedro is kind of the X factor in this entire tournament that should basically always win his 1v1 game. So yeah, if I'm the Juicy Goblins, I'm very, very happy with the way that we've played so far. And here we go. Final game. First match of the day. Juicy Goblins up right now, 7-1.
Using the E-Spirit, slow it down. We're going to have to see how effective that really is. E-Spirit plus Firecracker plus Skellies, and still got 2 skeletons onto the tower. Not the cleanest defense to start it off, but perfectly fine. Gotta reset your cycle and make sure you're ready to go.
Yeah, I would have liked to see R-Tube just get his cannon cart down a hair earlier there, to use that slight elixir advantage. very, very small, but just getting the cannon card out earlier would have been nice, and he's playing that deck that I was talking about in the Chaos mode, or before we got into Chaos mode, just this very, very strong mortar deck, which recently has had the E-Spirit replace the Barbarian Barrel.
Really good timing from Juicy right there. E-Spirit not chaining onto anything, so that way Mortar would get distracted by it. Still does get a shot, but still really solid from him. Right there, maybe the Hog should have gone to the right lane, try and bring the Goblins back, because now he has to defend once again. It's going to be a decent amount of damage. 2 shots from the Goblins.
Yeah, all those things I think are perfectly called by you. I like the King Tower activation there from R-Tube as well, just showing that he's like, hey, look, I know how to play this game too. I spent a lot of time playing Clash Royale. Evil Mortar at the bridge.
Wow.
And that mortar does connect with Juicy being very, very low on Elixir. That's a great pull there by R-Tube. Skelly's at the bridge to make sure a 3rd shot doesn't come through. Juicy in a tough spot right now. And I really like the aggression here from R-Tube, just recognizing Juicy is hurting for Elixir. That's probably not the play that I go. Rascal's at the bridge. But, you know, that's just what R-Tube thought would be a good call in that moment.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit too easy to defend with the Firecracker, and we kind of saw it right there. Juicy kind of resetting and perfectly okay with giving that up. Skeletons into the middle to try and distract the mortar just one more time. And these minions are also a little bit funky. Feels just not how you should be responding in that moment, in my opinion.
And yeah, I was going to say Firecracker should be back around in cycle. So right now, R-Tube just making it way too easy for Juicy to stay in this match. And he had a really substantial lead for a moment. That's a nice EQ plus Hog there to deal with the mortar. Goblin's not going to be a threat, so we go Skeleton Barrel in front to support that push. And this Tesla plus an IE Spirit or Skelly's, if he does decide to pull the trigger on those hero goblins, which he does not. 1441, 2069. R-Tube still in the lead here. And that's a nice play of the Mighty Miner by Juicy to protect his Firecracker. Fireball goes out up high, but now Hog going to have to be dealt with.
Wow. Earthquake timing plus Hog going to stop the mortar from even getting a singular shot. And the E-Spirit chain is also going to stop the cannon cart. So something that could have been really powerful, having the Evo mortar, having all these cards at the bridge, just turns out to do nothing. Juicy applying too much pressure, and it's stopping Artube from setting up properly.
And Fireball out on that Evo Firecracker.
I mean, this game is all about just, can Juicy catch up?
Yeah.
That's how it's felt for the last couple minutes.
Yeah, and I feel like R-Tube is just giving Juicy a few too many opportunities there to catch up. You know, he kind of had his foot on his throat for a little bit there, and then just some, you know, odd minions and Rascals play has really allowed Juicy to come back into this matchup when R-Tube was in a great spot. Now he's going to go with the double cannon carts at the bridge, but again, this is the type of thing I'm talking about. This mortar deck really succeeds with creating dual lane pressure as well, and we haven't seen much or any of that really as this game has gone on.
Yeah, 20 seconds left. Juicy just doing whatever he can to get one final push. We see the Hog placed at the bridge, and he needs to defend with something. That is way too much damage, plus the EQ, plus the Firecracker shots, and we're looking at Juicy winning this.
8-1, the Juicy Goblins take match number 1 against Predicteiros, and I gotta say, man, I really was impressed with the way R-Tube started that game off, but there's a reason why Juicy is as good as he is. He just stays through it, he recognizes that R-Tube is in, he gets that great predictive log, and the Juicy Goblins take our first match of the day, 8-1, with Pedro being the sole winner. One game in that 1v1 set, and Yeah, that was tough, man. I mean, I feel like R2 just really needed to start building more pushes from the back. He needed a little bit more dual lane pressure. There were too many moments when he had a great elixir advantage and he kind of threw it away with aggressive rascals at the bridge. He did that a couple times. Even the double cannon cart at the bridge, you know, when you're playing that deck, the mortar deck that against that hog EQ deck, when you have an advantage in damage and an elixir, one of the best things you can do is just either split your rascals in the back or drop a cannon cart in the back, because, you know, they have no great way to take care of those pushes because EQ is the big spell on the board. Those cannon carts are really, really tough to deal with, and I would have loved to see a little bit more cannon cart in the back, a little bit more dual lane aggression, you know, especially because he had an advantage in that right-hand side, such a strong advantage. He didn't need to give Juicy an excuse to keep playing on that right-hand side with his mortars there, with his EQs there. So, you know, very, very well played by, you know, all 6 of these competitors, but the Juicy Goblins with a dominant win here in our first match of the day.
Yeah, I mean, they have so much momentum right now, and it's incredible for them because they know, all right, you know, if I just go 5-4 in the next match and I go 4-5, they still have all these points just locked and loaded, ready to place on the podium. So just they have all the confidence in the world, and they should. Going 8-1 is incredible.
Here we go. First reward on the day. Shout out to production, dude. That is an awesome, awesome graphic. I mean, I like the music. I like the vibe. I love all this Ronin aesthetic. And then the blossoms there revealing the QR code. Pretty dang cool. I'm going to get my phone out.
Yeah.
And, right? Like, that was awesome.
Yeah. But I can hear you in the mic just kind of looking for your phone in that exact moment. That was
I was trying to get my camera to lock on the QR code. Got myself a 3-star, 17,600 gold, which I'll take. Gold, once again, a precious commodity in the Clash Royale scene because I need to get my account maxed. I'm getting very, very close. What'd you get, AC?
I'm at a 4-star tap to open, so I got
nice.
I got something cooking. Okay, I'll take it. Not the best, not the worst. 147 goblin huts added to the inventory.
Okay, Goblin Huts, definitely a strong card in the game still. Maybe not as popular as it was a few months ago, but still being used here and there. So rewards there to everyone at home. Just in case you're not sure how to do it, go ahead and take out your phone, scan that QR code. A lot of times we will have a mod in the chat posting a link, but the chat is going absolutely insane today, which we always love to see. And I see someone asking, does that mean it's over now? No more matches? No, we have a lot more matches coming your way. We have other teams that we have yet to see. Excited to see them. We'll be getting an update on the leaderboard in just a little bit, so we'll be able to see how Team Triple Giant did against the Gatitos con Mewing. As we saw Juicy Goblins there get 8 of the 9 games in their pocket. So, you know, the point that you made there, AC, about giving them such an advantage already going through the rest of the matches of today, you know, that's something that the other teams are not going to be happy about either. You know, that's you know, if they're in a close situation, like you said, 4-5, 5-4 between Triple Giants and the Gatitos, you know, that already gives the Juicy Goblins essentially a whole extra match win because of how dominant they were. So, you know, Triple Giant and Gatitos are going to have to hope that they can pull off the same type of dominant victory over the Brazilians. I don't know if that's, you know, hopefully they can kind of figure out what the problems were in match number 1. It's the first match of the day. Maybe they're still feeling a little bit of nerves, feeling a little bit of rust in the 2v2. Obviously, C.H.A.O.S is a wild card there. But we'll see if they can make things a little bit more competitive as the day goes on. Our second matchup of the day is going to be coming your way in just a little bit. As we said before, you're going to see every single one of these teams twice, which is super fun for everyone and these creators that are out there with their massive followings. Any takeaways from our, could be 1v1, 2v2, or Chaos, AC, before we move on through our day?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things is looking at 2v2 and how these teams adjust and how these teams really play overall, because you know, the nerves don't affect you in 2v2 like they do in 1v1 and C.H.A.O.S Mode. So it's more about skill, it's more about teamwork, because at the end of the day, as a viewer, off the bat, you don't really know who made the mistake. So it gives you that level of protection we're going to see if these players, just how the meta evolves with the 2v2, what changes with that. I don't know. 2v2 is definitely going to be exciting throughout this entire day.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I think you can kind of, you know, as you're saying, Chaos Mode is the wild card. I think you can kind of predict where things might go in the 1v1 set. 2v2 is definitely up in the air. Going to be a little bit more competitive, I'm sure, as things go on. And we'll get an update on our leaderboard a little bit later, as we're going to hop right into this first match between Gatitos from Mewing and the team that we just saw. Hopefully they can bounce back. Predicteiros in a tough spot in their first match of the day, but that is in the past, and this is the present.
And right there, I'm pretty sure you see Trevor frustrated with himself. I don't know if he was able to get like a barb hut, and he... Okay, never mind. The barb hut, he already got that, so perfectly fine from him. And Nobru and Trevor just running exactly what we expect. Bait plus barb hut plus control. We're going to be seeing that every single game today.
Yeah, and we're seeing the exact same modifiers on both sides of the board, it looks like. The chain lightning there from the E-Wiz. And there you can see it from Trevor. And that is a huge range there. This is definitely a very, very strong card in modifiers. You said the first time Chaos went out, that E-Wiz was absolutely everywhere. And then the 100% spawn rate on the barb hut can be really impactful as the game goes on.
Yeah, and right here, we're going to see what Nobru's final card is. It's probably going to be Log, but sometimes these kind of decks don't really use it. Still just waiting, and there we go. He does have the Log, so he's going to be able to defend that perfectly fine. Definitely a little bit nerve-wracking there if you're a fan of Nobru, but cleans it up very nicely.
And welcoming Trevor to the Clash Royale page here, and looks like they both have the exact same modifiers all the way through, as they are running very similar decks, but not quite the same. Although the double E-Wiz at the bottom of the screen, is that actually a suspicious bush?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably going to be the case right there.
Yeah. I believe that is the case. Just a little bit of a...
Whoa. Kind of felt like the log was placed after the modifiers went up. Yeah,
and you're right. Log gonna miss one of the goblins. That's a great call by you. And so far, these guys have just done the exact same thing in terms of modifiers, selections, and deck building. Looks like this knight is gonna stun. I'm assuming that's gonna be the same for Nobru.
I would like to point out that even if this were happening to me, I would still come up with the excuse of he had better choices.
And this is the poison there on the barb hut, does Trevor.
Yeah, he was gonna...
Trevor played the suspicious bush, right? I'm still kind of confused by this double E-Wiz that we're seeing, as Trevor's knight on the left-hand side, though, getting good damage in. Ronin doing good damage on the right-hand side.
Yeah, just a lot going down on the field. Ronin going to be able to take out the E-Wiz, and now he's got to worry about all of that.
Wow. And
I mean, that is a lot of damage.
Yeah, in a lot of trouble on the top right-hand side. The knight and the Ronin are just going to town on that Princess Tower.
Yeah, it gets super interesting if there's some sort of poison. Even the log is really strong. You're just looking for that guaranteed damage for that final 1,000 HP. Like 1,000 HP is basically 300 HP in normal game modes. And right there, beautiful Ronin to reflect the Goblin Barrel. I mean, it's just domination from Trevor.
And now the E-Wiz spawning, the E-Wiz attack spawning lightning. You can see Nobru decides to go with that instead of picking a new modifier, whereas Trevor goes with the log. I believe that probably spawns the lumberjack, I think is what that modifier is.
Indeed, it is right there. A knight just stunning the Ronin again and again. And E-Wiz at the bridge. These E-Wizes are so strong when placed up top.
And a late log there. You cannot give that damage away at this moment, because I honestly think that Nobru could come back into this still with that E-Wiz ability, but just a few mistakes being made.
Offensive poison.
Seconds remain.
Yeah. just waiting for the offensive log to come out from Trevor, but he's actually going to be perfectly content with just defending over and over again, having a little bit of fun with the emotes. At the end of the day, that's exactly what you should be doing, and I love how he's approaching this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you should. I mean, it's, you know, when we talk about CRL and playing in monthly finals and BMing, it's something that we don't really see. You know, there's a mutual respect between the players. There's an image to maintain to the community. But in creator events, it's all free. You know, it's no holds barred. Do whatever you want, especially if you're a creator that is like newer to the game. Have fun, bro. BM. Get in your opponent's head. Here we go, AC. Let's take a look here at the points. Thank you so much to production for getting this going. And it's exactly what you called, man. Team Triple Giant looks like they won 5-4. So when you look at how dominant the Juicy Goblins were in their first matchup of the day, that's basically two matches in hand already. When you look at the fact that they're up by 3 against Triple Giant, but they're up by 4 already against the Gatitos, who only lost by 1. They just pick up another crown there. So Triple Giant and the Juicy Goblins looking like the front runners so far, but we are only one match into the day and only one game into the second matchup of the day. Very, very close set there. So this should be... at least based off of what we saw in match number 1, the Brazilians are going to have to put something together here, because that was a very, very close game between Gatitos and the team Triple Giant. And I feel like you and I both thought Triple Giant was going to be a very, very strong team in this competition. So here we go. Game number 2 in C.H.A.O.S. Pedro, top of your screen. Bale at the bottom. I'm always so impressed by Bale's depth of field and his camera quality, his background. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. What's not incredible is that poison, though. Something must have happened like that. They queued up with real decks, I think, not Chaos.
Yeah, you're right. Not sure if they're just going to replay this.
I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, I hope they do too. We'll get word from production here in a moment, and with them closing the game, I'm assuming that that's going to be the case, which, you know, this is a creator event. I like that. I like that we just give them a chance to go right back into it. No reason. I mean, honestly, I kind of would have just liked to see them play.
Yeah.
You know, or actually, was that not even C.H.A.O.S Mode?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
That was just normal ones, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't just normal decks, it was also just normal mode. So yeah, here we go. We're going to go again, hopping into it in just a second here. Yeah, even production is like, his camera setup is beautiful. His background is beautiful. Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there from our players, but that's okay. Once again, you know, this is not a monthly final. This is a fun event, so hopping right back into C.H.A.O.S Mode here. Bale bottom of your screen, Pedro at the top, and this looks much more like what we were expecting. Modifiers being selected right now as we hop into the game.
So this makes a lot more sense. The Chaos kind of blocking the overall timer, so that's going to be something that technically... All right, there we go. That makes everything a lot easier. Bale just going to be running the normal... log plus bar putt, plus just bait overall. Pedro doing kind of the same thing. One of the key differences can be the fireball and the poison. Depending on the modifiers, the fireball can just completely wreck a lot of things that the poison cannot. The poison is better for just controlling the map, especially if you get, you know, the 150% poison or indefinite poison. But the fireball is so nasty when you get the right one. The Tornado 3 fireball from last Chaos game mode, I'm not sure if it's in this one as well, is just one of my favorite abilities that I've ever seen. It's so fun just drawing everything in.
And so we got the impact damage from the barrel and the spawned E-Spirits on the E-Wiz at the bottom of your screen. And Pedro's modifiers are going to be Zappies that are hitting 100% faster, which all of a sudden turns them into a bit of an offensive card, and then the Ronin with the reduced parry. And you can see right there, Zappy's just, I mean, that's going to be tough to break through if you can stack those on the board. The other note here, AC, is that Bale, not Benny, is going to be their pro, which I think is very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's fun.
Just a pretty cool. I don't know. There's so many just fake interactions that occur in Chaos, and it's just such a joy to watch. Things that just should not be happening are.
You would never see a barrel be thrown there to get impact damage. Now we have an E-Barb hut, which is fun to say.
Yeah, easily one of the strongest upgrades that you can possibly have, especially if you get it early on. I know it was a huge problem last Chaos game mode with the ladder system, where if you just got that as your first ability, you just auto-win. We have not seen that today, so I'm hoping they kind of messed with that. But yeah, I mean, Evo Barbs, easily one of the strongest that you can activate.
And while that is still a rare modifier for the Suspicious Bush, it does feel like having extra goblins come out does not feel even remotely as strong as the E-Barb spawns.
Yeah.
So pretty even so far, and we get a permanent poison on the board for Bale. That's very interesting. I mean, you could just start stacking those, right? And then we got the Suspicious Bush now with the 4 brawlers as opposed to the extra goblins. And ooh, I like that. Yeah, the Goblin Barrel defensively, and then you have a permanent poison there on the board. Honestly, maybe you stack them on both bridges. I think that's also a really interesting way to play it. And then and then just start to put them on the tower.
Yeah, you have to be careful because if it's similar to last time, it might only it might erase the other poison.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to see what happens with that one. But it's so nice because you just get to dominate a lane, and I'm saying that, and then he's just immediately pressuring the left side, so it doesn't even affect anything. But right there, it's working. I mean, that is a ton on the field right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to do it right there. He uses the brawlers kind of defensively. This modifier is just delaying the inevitable for Pedro here, who only has 261 HP on the tower. Bale just runs away with it with the Ronin up front, the E-Barbs behind, the E-Wiz behind that, and just an absolute takeover there from Bale here in game number 2. Pedro, though, still with a smile on his face.
Yeah. Gotta say, I love that, like, he's actually enjoying himself in this game, in this tournament, really. It'd be pretty easy to kind of just look at all these games and say, all right, we're already down, 1 to 10, whatever it is. I'm no longer going to enjoy myself, but he's still having fun, and I always like seeing that. I just thought that was a great recognition with the Goblin Barrel, using the impact damage better than I've really ever seen anybody do it. It felt like that was an epic modifier the way you used it, and it's always really impressive when you can make a rare basically just turn into an epic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's interesting because I haven't played enough Chaos Mode to be put in that position to where I would think to use it defensively, but that's the same as the way that we watch 2v2 and 1v1 at the highest level is, players innovating. And we're seeing it here in Chaos. That's a great call, AC. I mean, that Goblin Barrel became an incredibly strong defensive card, and Bale was still able to create a lot of offense with his Barb Hut. The Goblin Barrel could be used offensively or defensively. That permanent poison was very effective, as you said, and just completely clogging up and stopping a lane from being approachable by Pedro. And then the Overwhelm, which was really, really nicely played there by Bale. So Bale proving why he is the pro selection from his squad so far, which again I think does give Benihoo an interesting advantage when we talk about getting into the 2v2 sets, getting into the 1v1s, because it's going to be, in that case, it'll be Benny versus Rtube, which, Rtube did play pretty decently against Juicy in that 1v1, but Benihoo, in terms of experience, even though he was a 2v2 specialist when he was in a CRL, there were moments when he did come out in King of the Hill, so going to give them an interesting advantage as we go on, but we are still here in Chaos. Game number 3, Gatitos perfect so far.
I'm always going to be supporting Benihoo. He came up to me at the World Finals. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but he was like, AC, you're the American me. And I was like, oh wow, I appreciate that. I've always thought Benihoo was great, specifically as a person, even before as a player, and then he's just also great as a player. So really fun supporting him and just seeing his journey. as a CR player and just content creator in general.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of like Benny and Kuchi never got quite enough recognition for how much they did in 2v2 just because of how dominant, you know, Ruben was in that 1v1. And you could see here, Suspicious Bush is going to give you vines upon reveal. But then, obviously, winning that world championship and being a very, very huge asset to that squad, and then becoming one of the biggest content creators in the entire space. Yeah, I agree. It's been cool to see, you know, what's happened over the last 10 years for Benny Who.
And right there, I believe I saw an anime or some sort of picture where it's talking about the Ronins, and the second one placed on the board is the one that auto wins, basically.
Yeah.
So always going to be interesting to see how the Ronins get placed on the map and who adjusts to win those battles between each other.
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting I've noticed when playing the Ronin as well, and it does exactly what you're saying. It does seem like the second one on the board is always going to win, so that's why it's important to get something else out in front to take up that first parry shot, ideally something cheap like skeletons or goblins when we're talking in 1v1. As our third modifier is coming out, R-Tube has the spawn rate and the slow at the moment. And Benny Who is getting his E-Barb hut. And I believe the rare is, yeah, the chain lightning here from the because the epic is the lightnings.
And that's such a good one and fun one, and not nearly as detrimental to the game's health as the previous EWIS. I really like the lightning ability instead of just ultra chain game over like we used to see.
Yeah, that ultra chain lightning was absolutely brutal to deal with. So it is fun to see like even balances coming into this wild game mode, and that they are very impactful and necessary. So right now, if I have that chain lightning ability, I'm not gonna upgrade the EWIS even if I've given the opportunity. It does seem like Benny decides to get the brawlers out instead of the impact damage, which we already saw him use that impact damage on. And there we go, brawlers out right away on that right-hand tower.
Yeah, this is gonna be just kind of a lot on the left side, and now this is just a lot on the right side for R2. Log is not going to do a single thing. Benny Who really struggling right now. Ronin going to clean it up. I mean, it's going to save the tower, but at what cost? Tower down to 1281, and R2 just dominating in this moment.
Yeah, really, really well played there by R2. Here he goes in with his brawler plus Bush. He goes to the inside. That is such a great, tricky barrel when you talk about goblins and goblin brawlers and the difference of missing a barrel. So the tricky barrel goes to the inside, Knight goes to the outside, 3 brawlers on the tower, nothing there to stop, stun, reset, and an easy win there. And that's a very, very big win to pick up here in the Chaos mode. I feel like just you really need to pick up one game in Chaos mode because it is such a wild card. It shouldn't really be decided on paper just based off of how much time the player has spent in Clash Royale. Again, Benny Who probably put in thousands of more hours than R-Tube there, but doing a great job of just defending and abusing his modifiers, and he picks up a very, very important game win there for Predicteiros.
Yeah, I mean, always important, especially when you are considered the weaker player. You need to be able to kind of remain at the same level as your opponent and then do one tricky thing, one thing that they do not expect that you can pull off right there at the end of the game, going on the inside. Benny Who did not have the elixir. I would have liked to see him, do whatever he could to get them off his tower and delay. But because he just kind of maneuvered around the skill level difference, I just thought that was brilliant from him to go on the inside of the crown tower.
Yeah, and a huge thing with Chaos, just as it is, very important in 2v2 and 1v1, you know this from 2v2, is just taking advantage of the elixir advantage, right? And we saw there that first barrel that came out from R-Tube and how much had to be spent by Benny and taking, because I believe he dropped a Ronin, a Knight, and a Log on top of that barrel. The barrel still costs the same, right? So that is a massive, massive elixir swing. and the damage comes in, and the defense is pretty easy when you talk about dealing with a Ronin and a Knight crossing the bridge. So then you look at that and you go, okay, I have a huge elixir advantage. Just pedal to the metal, keep the pressure up, and that's exactly what he did. Pressure also creates mistakes, which is why we see that tricky barrel being so impactful. So yeah, I really love everything that we saw R-Tube do there in that last game. And again, a huge game win for the Brazilians that really needed that. Now we're going to go into standard 2v2. This is going to be really interesting because you're going to get Benihoo and Bale in game number 1 for the Gatitos, and then you're going to get R-Tube and Pedro as the pro versus creator situation. Oh no, excuse me. I think we're actually going to get Bale and Trebor, and then Pedro and Nobru in this situation. So this will be a very interesting one. I think when we do get to, deeper into this 2v2 set, I feel like the Gatitos should have a slight advantage, but I could totally be wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly up in the air. Just with everything in this, I mean, just such a fun tournament overall.
Yeah.
Everything is up in the air. We don't know when players are going to adjust, when metas are going to appear. Just always such a joy to to just have fun with the game. You know, at the end of the day, yes, there's a lot of money. Yes, these players are probably not even having that much fun in this moment because they're so stressed, so worried about everything. But as a viewer, as a commentator, it is so fun to watch this.
Yeah, this has been a blast. I always love commentating on 2v2. It is one of the things. I know it doesn't really make sense, or I don't really know the path to get it back at the highest level. You know, there was the 2v2 ladder, which was super fun, but when we talk about actual CRL, these types of events are always a really nice thing to be a part of and commentate on just because of that. And here we go. Bale and Trevor, Pedro and Nobru, 2v2 coming your way. And a lot of barrels coming out on either side. We see the Evo Skarmy here for Bale. And a bomb tower in the hands of Nobru. Double Dark Goblins. Those Goblins not entirely necessary. You could probably just wait a second. But at least they kind of turn into some offense, or the semblance of offense. Princess cleans it up. Haven't really got to see the Evo Princess much in action. Not a super popular Evo in our last month of CRL, and I think even earlier in our 2v2 game that the Evo Princess was in, she was a bit of a non-factor. Double barrel push here on the left-hand side, and a bit of an interesting drop of the Goblins in the back. So Trevor's got some archers that he can basically always split. He's got the MK to wield. He's got the 2 barrels that are pretty straightforward in terms of where and when you're going to place them based off of whatever your captain is saying. As you can see Pedro doing that, and same with Bale, as Nobru and Trevor are going to be the ones listening to the commands called out.
Really off-centered Skarmy, but it worked perfectly. Just one of the skeletons able to get that left goblin, able to clean it up nicely, and so far playing perfect is Bale and Trevor, giving up no damage.
Yeah, really nice log value that they just got. And just as you say that, just a little bit of damage comes in on the left-hand side, and we see the delivery on one side and a nice turnaround from the Golden Knight on the left.
Yeah, the delivery in 1v1 going against Goblin Barrels is pretty difficult, but definitely reasonable. The delivery against Goblin Barrels in 2v2 is just so difficult to use properly. You have to be watching the entire map while also making sure that the Goblin Barrels are placed on top of the tower instead of anywhere else. It just becomes so difficult to use that card over something simple like a log.
That's really interesting. I didn't really think about that. Obviously, we haven't commentated on as much 2v2 over the years. And wow, a lot of damage though in on that right-hand side. The barrel pops, the archers are there. 15-12, but 18-52, the lowest tower for the Gatitos in the bottom left. So we have ourselves a game.
About gonna clean up the right side pretty nicely, but definitely. I mean, Pedro and Nobru gonna have to figure something out. This game is certainly getting really close, and you know everybody's kind of delaying their final card right now. Trevor's used everything, but we're gonna have to see what these final cards are for the rest of these players.
And that Evo Archer getting tanked for, so gonna put some good work. You see a high Valkyrie there to respond, and that barrel in the back with the Skelly barrel up front. Golden Knight does get on top of that tower on the left-hand side, as Pedro and Nobru having a hard time breaking through. 1732, the lowest tower here for the Gatitos, and on the other side of it, Nobru and Pedro, their lowest tower is at 937, with the one on the right side not far behind.
There we go. We finally see that final card for Pedro. Love that he's using the rocket. We're going to see a lot of aggression coming out from Bale and Trevor right now just because the rocket was used. We're going to have to, I mean, if they don't get a ton of damage right here, we could easily see a double rocket at the end from Pedro and Nobru. So just looking to see what happens with these damage.
Yeah, really nice, like, clean defense here from Pedro and Nobru on both sides, and very, very close now. 35 seconds remain. 3 barrels out on the board. Right-hand side not cleaned up very well. As the Dark Goblin connects, that should do it. The Dark Goblin does get through. 40 HP remains. Just need a little bit of spell damage to come in on that right-hand tower. Full sellout on the left, but well cleaned up as the log comes in. 5 HP remains. And that is about as low as I've seen 2 towers. Yeah. One at 5 and one at 197. And you see a sigh of relief there from Trebor as the Brazilians were kind of hanging on by a thread for a while.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing everything they could, applying a ton of pressure. I mean, the fact that he couldn't get enough elixir to do a poison on the tower, yeah. I mean, it explains a lot. It shows a lot about the skill level of all these teams because they were just constantly pressuring. We don't want to allow you to do that. And I just have to point out, the tower was at 40 HP. A log went on the tower, and then it still had 5 HP.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that adjustment to the game. I've always thought spells were a little bit too strong. I mean, they've been strong for 8 years now.
Yeah.
And I like that adjustment within this game. I thought spells have always just done too much damage to the towers.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. As soon as that tower was at 40 HP and the log came in, I was like, wow, it's still standing.
Not even close.
Yeah. 5 HP remains there, and as you're saying, yeah, great sellout there from the Predicteiros to just keep the damage or keep the pressure up. They weren't really getting much damage out of it. At the end of it, it ends up being just under 800 HP, I believe, to a tower finally going down. I got it here on replay on the other side, and yeah, that log just came in. Great cleanup there. It looks like 670 to a 197 and a fallen tower. So either way, it felt like Bale and Trevor had it sewn up. But, you know, one mistake in the defense there. I mean, honestly, it's funny because that Skarmy from Bale was actually pretty impactful throughout that game. Not really as an offensive threat, but he used it defensively very well.
Yeah, I mean, Skarmy is easily one of the strongest cards in the game in 2v2 if you do not have the proper responses. And then the flip side of that is when you do have the proper responses, it is pretty much bar none the worst card in the game. When you have, like, the correct... the correct decks synergizing well, sometimes the Skarmy just immediately gets deleted. I thought the usage of the Skarmy and the usage of the Evo Skarmy was just well done indeed.
All right, here we go. Nobru and R2 going up against Benny and Trebor, and this is kind of the situation I was talking about before when you're talking about 2 creators and you have one of the most successful 2v2 players in the history of Clash Royale as one of your creators.
The one thing I've noticed that I'd like to see some of these players kind of do a little bit better about is they're playing the Dark Goblins over the middle of the board, and it's sniping a lot of cards really well, but at the same time they're not protecting the snipe. They're allowing the Dark Goblin to get it taken out by opposing Dark Goblins or opposing princesses. I'd like to see a little bit more protection when it comes to the Dark Goblins that get thrown on the board.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of why Juicy won that 1v1 against R-Tube, is I feel like Juicy did a really exceptional job of protecting his firecrackers, and we've talked about the Princess Protection Program for almost 10 years now, and I agree, those glass cannons, you know, try to get a little bit more out of them, especially because that Dark Goblin can push your units as well if you do protect it.
Yeah, and right here, I mean, right tower down to 2077 for Trevor and Benihoo, and it all comes down to a double defense on the left side about 10 seconds prior to that. Because they used the Skarmy and the log, they just didn't have the proper responses. And it's those quick things. I know you've got 2 players, but at the same time, you have to still defend properly. And that's why we saw a ton of damage on the right side.
Yeah, that elixir in 2v2 obviously flowing a little bit slower, which makes those double drops and that over defense just really, really punishing. And then the other side of it is you have to take advantage of when your opponents do that. And a little bit more damage there on the right side. We'll see if they decide to activate the ability. They do with the barrel coming in, a very, very low log and very well placed log. 1477 though, remaining on that bottom right for 22-28.
Right here, I mean, they are just looking for offense. R-Tube and Nobru doing a great job of just dominating the board overall, keeping everything in place. These bomb towers are getting a ton of value right here. I'm just not exactly sure what they should be trying to pull off. I mean, it's just...
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I'm kind of like, what's the game plan here? Is it just to get barrels on tower? Because I don't think that's going to work over time, and it hasn't been. And there's a double drop again, AC, and now the second barrel comes in as the Dark Goblin connects on the left-hand side, and then the Fake Goblins connect on the right. Things going from bad to worse, and I know this hurts you as a 2v2 specialist to see.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of double drops, even right there. Another double drop, this time from R-Tube and Nobru. You know, technically, it's not the worst thing in the world to double drop. I mean, but a lot of these are just the wrong ones. When it comes to like straight defense and like you're defending Ram Riders, the double drops are fine. But Goblin Barrels, that's one thing you need to be communicating properly on.
And then what was interesting about the last Goblin Barrel that came in on the bottom right-hand side was a wow, and a huge, huge bit of damage there on the left-hand side, top left. And now all of a sudden, Nobru and R-Tube in trouble. Rocket out though, and that is going to do it. Benny can see that he got so close. Just, you know, the double drops, the overspends were really the name of the game there. As you know, on the bottom right hand side, what I was saying as I saw those towers get much closer in HP was just, there was a moment where they overspent Benny and Trevor, and then it was just a plain Goblin Barrel came in on the right-hand side, and the delivery was very, I think it was the delivery or the Skarmy were very late, because there was just no elixir. One player had 2 elixir, the other one had 0. And that's just a really bad spot to be in that deep into the game, and not being able to deal with something like a barrel on its own.
Yeah, I think that's why Bait might be my favorite deck to use in 2v2. Because you have to remain aggressive while also remain... I mean, you have to have at least 3+ elixir at all time when you're running delivery. And it's so difficult to apply enough pressure while also making sure that you can defend properly. The communication has to be on point. It is my favorite, and I think the purest way of playing Clash, 2v2 with Bait. I just... There's nothing better than that.
And that's definitely been very popular, at least in this set. 2 games in hand already. 3rd 2v2 game coming your way as the Predicteiros are struggling here today, AC. I mean, I think a team that we thought on paper was going to be a little bit more, just a little stronger than what we've seen so far. But so far it has been basically all the other squads pretty close. The Juicy Goblins obviously start off with a very, very dominant match win one. I think it was it was 8-1, and then yeah, the Gatitos and Triple Giant back and forth. I'm very curious to see how that other set is going. I guess I could actually pull up one of their streams at least to check on if they're in game. I can check on the scoreboard, and it looks like the scoreboard is not up at the moment. But very curious to see how that set is going, how, you know, if they are even or not. in terms of games are a little bit closer there. And we'll be getting Team Triple Giant in a little bit, obviously, once this match is over. Right now, we are about to hop into our third game of 2v2, and this will be a fun one. This is the one with the heavy hitters, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. As much as I love bait and as much as I said my entire spiel 2 minutes ago, I also wouldn't mind seeing something other than bait.
We saw beatdown be effective, right?
Exactly, yeah. I think there's a lot of potential for other types of decks. And as much as lava can sometimes be difficult to run in 2v2, and just really in general, but also specifically in 2v2, I think there's an opportunity there. I think there's a chance for Lava Skarmy, Lava Valk, all these kind of different decks that you can adjust slightly to prepare against bait. And I mean, every single time we're seeing Bomb Tower, we're not seeing Tesla, we're not seeing Inferno Tower. I'd like to see some sort of adjustment with a little bit heavier of decks from these teams.
Yeah, that's a great call there. And is it just about the idea of lava? We talk about a lot in 1v1 where it's like you have to give up a lot of damage at some point if you want to be able to get a lava on the board, if you're not making huge positive elixir trades defensively. What about lava specifically makes it so difficult in 2v2? Is it also because it's just kind of like drop and wait in terms of building your pushes? In your opinion, what is it about lava?
I think a lot of it is comfortability. When I used to play 2v2, I excelled at lava at the time, and the God RF was obviously just incredibly talented. And so I didn't really have to worry about him with that. And our communication was great at the time. But when you don't have a player that is really well-versed in lava, and you don't have a player that is just really well-versed in the game overall, it can be difficult to understand when to attack, when to give up towers. There's a lot of extracurriculars that occur that you're really not prepared for. So as much as I love lava for myself, it's probably not the best idea for some of these players. This feels a lot better. I love what I'm seeing from Bell and Benny.
Yeah, here we go. We kind of asked for it and got exactly what we wanted, was some beatdown right out the gate. And while it's not in the skies and the bomb tower is still going to be relatively effective, Benny plus Bale feels a lot stronger than Pedro plus Nobru in 2v2.
Yeah, these two should work really well together. Even from the start of the match, if you don't play a lot of 2v2s, it's really important when you're running your tanks and you're trying to place them above the opposing troops, make sure to put it a couple tiles to the side of the King Towers, not just directly behind. That way your support troops don't run in front. Just an easy recognition for the pros, but definitely something to watch out for if you're trying to improve, trying to get better at 2v2s.
Man, if there was a 2v2 league, it would be just so fun to be calling those matches all the time, because your insight into the 2v2 game is obviously going to be like top 1% based off of the experience that you've had in it. And here we go. Lightning going to come in, does miss the firecracker though, and there should be enough elixir to get another defensive building down. Tesla comes out to stop this golem in its tracks. 2184 to 2712, the two lowest towers on the board. And going in the same lane are these drills. I'm wondering if that's going to be a mistake as the game goes on, and if that'll give Bale and Benny an opportunity to get nice counter pushes and good poison lightning value. We'll see if Pedro and R-Tube want to change that up, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really difficult. Double Golem against Bomb Tower Tesla. There's just not a lot of leeway. It can be really difficult if you get the right timing down with your lightnings, where you can't place the building, but you also can't drag it to the left because you know the lightning is going to come out. There's a lot to worry about for Pedro and Nobru. This is going to be really difficult for them to defend if they allow their opponent to set up the right pushes. Drill needs to be going aggressive with their offensive pushes. If they have the right aggression, they should actually win.
So far, Drill definitely in the lead. So that lightning comes down, and there's an Evo Snowball to push everything back. Baby Dragon over the bridge, though, and Skelly Dragon's there to take the Tesla out. Now we see a defensive poison coming down here as Bale and Benny kind of break through the buildings, but still going to get very little out of this push. Down to 2065 and another golem down. 14 elixir in the tank for the Brazilians. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be every other push for the golem side. You want one golem push to try and get damage, and then you want one golem push to force out specific responses. And right there, they got those specific responses. This is the true push coming in from Bale and Benny.
Yeah, and you can see there with the Evo Lumberjack still on the board to clear the way. Now you've got the Evo Baby Dragon, you've got the Golden Knight coming in. NATO comes through, but still the defense is so strong here. Arrows down, Baby Dragon still on the board, 1492 to 1457. Drill team in the lead by a lot, and now that lead has been cut down to just under 40 HP. Now we get the double Evo drills. If this is cleaned up well, AC, this should be a pretty strong counter push.
Yeah, we hit triple elixir. We get to go all in right now. We should be expecting bridge golems for the rest of the game coming in from Bale and Benny. On the other side, Pedro and Nobru need to get just one last push. They need to get that extra 300 damage that they can afford to go in with the aggressive poisons. I don't know, though. I feel like Bale and Benny did a great job of bringing themselves to triple elixir.
Nice high Phoenix there. Arrows out to clean up the Firecracker on the left-hand side of the board. Exy plus the Golemites and one Skelly Dragon. Now just a naked Lumberjack at the bridge. 1004 down to 960. 1064 on the bottom right-hand side. It looks like the drill team is having trouble staying in this one with 20 seconds remaining.
Yeah, so no more golems are going to get played from Bale and Benny. It's just going to be straight defense, straight aggression on offense. Lightning plus Dark Prince, not going to make it to the tower. I mean, if they have just one more spell, they can win it just off that. That's what's going to happen. Bale and Benny, beautiful gameplay right there in order to take that tower down. Great recognition, not going in with the golem once it hit sub 30. They figured it was best to use the support troops plus spells, and that's exactly why they won. They had an understanding of what to do in the final 30 seconds. Their opponents did not.
Yeah, and you know, it was something that I mentioned early on in that game, right? Is it a good idea for Drill to just keep going in this same lane as where the Golem wants to go, just because the counter pushes and then the spell power, the spell value, all that? And it felt like maybe I was wrong for a little bit, but then as we got it deeper into double and to triple elixir, it was just an overwhelming push over and over again. There was no pulling attention or elixir to the other side of the board. And, you know, the other part of this is like what I was talking about with Pedro and 1v1, which I still stand by going up against the Gatitos, is that I feel like Bale and Benny also feels like a must-win situation when you're in your 2v2 set. You know, specifically against a team like this, when you're looking at Artube and Nobru, Bale and Benny have to win that game together in 2v2, and that's exactly what we saw. And similarly, we're going to need to see Pedro pick up a game here in 1v1 once again.
Yeah, I mean, just Pedro's team has to figure something out.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're not locked for last place, but any sort of advantage that you can give yourself where you set yourself up for the next set, the next round, you need to apply, and we're just not seeing all that much from them. I don't know if it's they didn't practice, they're not ready for it, and I mean, all these teams are really good and really solid. It just feels like, because they're not losing by a lot, they're losing by just a little bit in the last seconds.
That's a good
because
point.
Of a specific matchup. There's always just something not clicking for them so far.
Yeah, and then in terms of, you know, coachability or being able to be coached in that 1v1 set, I'm curious if Pedro is in Artube's ear, is in Nobru's ear in those games, or if he's kind of letting them do their own thing. Obviously, Pedro is a pretty quiet dude. You know, I wonder how much of him being able to coach in Chaos and in 1v1 is a factor or not, because I feel like there was just some macro misplays in that prior 1v1 set. I wonder if they can get cleaned up in this. And I think what you said about them losing by just a little bit over and over and over is it's something that, like, actually you and RF had told me when I was having you guys like randomly coach me over the years. I mean, several years ago. But it was like, look, if you're losing by just 100 or 200 HP, that's not a big glaring mistake. That's just like a couple small changes that can be made pretty quickly. So we're not even halfway through our day yet. And we'll see if the Predicteiros can kind of get on track and kind of get rid of those kinks, whatever they might be, because I feel like things are just going to get tougher and tougher as the day goes on for them, because at the same time as they're figuring stuff out, so are the other 3 squads.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of those things. You have to figure it out quickly. If you can't adapt, if you can't get ready for it, all of a sudden your dreams of finishing first, second, third kind of just disappear. So we'll have to see. I mean, 2v2, as fun as it is, and I mean, just a lot of these teams don't have a ton of practice. That's kind of what happens. You know, depending on the random month that there's like a 2v2 ladder, you're going to be seeing the best gameplay out there. But if you don't have that 2v2 ladder to help you practice and get ready for it, it really shows in some of the gameplay and some of the decks. So yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot going on in this tournament, and you have to adjust, you have to adapt, otherwise you get left behind.
You itching to get back out there when you see a competition like this? Imagine if it was like you, RF, and pick your third in this tournament. I feel like you guys would do pretty well at the 2v2, the 1v1, and then chaos. You know, anything can happen in chaos.
At that point, we got you on our team. Like, oh, we
yeah,
can do it.
Baby.
Yeah,
made the cut.
I got no problem with that. I'd expect great things from our trio right there.
Yeah, I'd probably have to change up mortar in the 1v1, or else I'd get hard sniped every single time.
I got faith.
But here we go.
Faith.
Yeah. We're about to get into our 1v1 set. Game number 1 coming your way. Nobrew top of your screen. Trevor at the bottom. The least seasoned players on both of these squads, as that is how it should be. And this is one where you might actually be right when you say, I could play this 1v1 game better, but honestly, probably a lot of you still couldn't, even if you say it. And Giant Skeleton Ice Spear. Okay. Looking like maybe Graveyard top of your screen, question mark? Hard to say, is, again, doesn't mean these decks don't have to be meta. Yeah,
Graveyard seems legit. Seems like what it's leaning towards right now. You are looking for a like some sort of little guy, either Ice Golem or Knight, to be able to protect your boulders and your furnaces, but not going to happen just yet.
And decent push here coming through on that right-hand side. Musketeer going to do a good job of cleaning most of it up, but still going to need something for this furnace. And Ice Spirit should do the trick.
Yeah, good timing right there. Takes the aggro from the Fire Spirit, gets onto the furnace. Really well done, and the push is going to get deleted because of that bowler, but all you're trying to do is set yourself up, try and get that Evo Battle Ram in cycle when your opponent doesn't have the bowler ready to go. Everything so far is just adjusting for the future, and both players doing a good job of preparing for that future.
I feel like Hero Bowler is in a good spot now. It was definitely a little bit strong, but I actually like where Hero Bowler is at. There's still... the ability is still pretty impactful, but it's not a must-do every single time, which is, I think, how it should be with hero abilities. And here we go. A little bit over, maybe not overspend on the left. But that is a nice play. Battle Ram at the bridge. Bowler not quite in cycle. Evo Musk over the bridge to try to snipe the building. And pretty well played, constructed offense there by Trevor. And conversely, very well defended by Nobrew.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from both of these guys. Royal Ghost. I would have liked to see the Zappies maybe placed a little bit lower so that way the tower could help out and keep the Ghost alive, but we actually still might see the Ghost stay alive, and we will until the very end. It couldn't disappear just in time.
Also a nice change on the Royal Ghost, I feel. I feel like there were so many times when it got by with a sliver of HP that you wished would take it out, and happening just a little bit more often now.
Yeah, these bowlers, I mean, this cycle for Nobru, it's just so easy for him to defend. I don't really... See, the Ice Spirit is great for defensive possessions, but it almost feels like you need the entire deck. You need the entire 8 cards to be able to prepare for the split lane pressure, and it feels like the Ice Spirit kind of just gets wasted offensively. Defensively, it's great, but offensively, it feels like you're missing something.
Yeah, I feel like this deck is just missing a little bit of synergy here from Trevor, and also the play is a little interesting when you see that Battle Ram cycled in the back, then you see a Giant Skeleton at the bridge, and now we're looking at what should be a Graveyard push here on the left-hand side. Evo Battle Ram to try to, I guess, block, but the Knight is still taking up the attention of the Princess Tower, and a few Skellies get in, so not the worst, not the best in terms of defense.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like I could even say that the Evo Battle Ram should have been used differently. He just cannot build a push. He does not have enough. I love this from him with this Musketeer.
Yeah.
And it's going to snipe. I mean, he's got some sort of opportunity right here. He can get aggressive on this right side.
One of the strongest things about this deck, okay, here we go, is the second Battle Ram is out. That's why he gets the early cycle of the first Battle Ram. But I was going to say the Giant Skeleton plus Battle Ram combo is something that you need to see with this deck, and we are just not getting that here from Trevor, who needs about 600 HP to even things up here in the next 25. Here we go. Evo Battle Ram in behind the Giant Skeleton. Vines on top of the Furnace instead of the Bowler. Would have loved to see that Vines on the Bowler instead. And as you called out, AC, just really easy, clean defense here. And, I mean, only one Graveyard ever came through from Nobru, and that's exactly how you need to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I love when I see it from players, but basically just a boring match from Nobru. All he did was defend for 5 minutes. Felt like the Graveyard was even a defense because it forced out an Evo Battle Ram. So it's just perfectly played. You do not need to get aggressive. You do not need to set yourself up. If you do anything other than that, then it becomes a 1090, 2080. Like, you're still going to win 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10. But the way he played it was a 10 out of 10. I will win this every single game, and I just love how he approached that match.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've all been there when you're playing against what you know is Graveyard. They've never played the Graveyard. You know it's going to come out either deep in double or late in triple, and they only need one, right? They only need one decent Graveyard to get a few hundred or to several hundred damage in, and you are just trying to break through for what feels like forever. 4 minutes of trying to change up your offense, trying to break through, trying to throw your opponent off, and if they're just patient, methodical, and defensive with Graveyard, I mean, that's why it's still and will always be one of the best win conditions in the game. And it's also why it's not my play style. Like, I just like to be a little bit more aggressive. And talking about your old teammate there in RF, he's a person that was very good at just sitting back and hanging out and just being like, all right, I'm happy to defend for what back then was 5 minutes, and now I can defend for 4.5 minutes, get one Graveyard in, or even just taking the poison damage, right? If you're just getting poison value over and over, and you're just like, you know what, I'm in enough of a lead here, I don't even need to play my 8th card. And yeah, that was very, very well played by Nobru. Great pickup there too in the 1v1 set for the Predicteiros, and now hopefully Pedro is going to pick up the second game here in the 1v1 set, as it should be. It's going to be him versus Bale, and then we'll close things out with Benny versus Artube in our second matchup of the day. A lot more matches coming your way today, guys. A lot more rewards still coming your way as we have a nice Sunday of action here. I'm excited to get back into Chaos. It's actually perfect too, because I was talking earlier about how it kind of ramps up as we're moving through from Chaos to 2v2 to 1v1. Then going back from 1v1 back into Chaos is such a great kind of refreshing vibe in changing up the pace of the show. So again, love this event, love events like this. Remember to make sure to follow along here and subscribe to the channel for all of our CRL events, and of course any fun creator events like this. Of course, you can follow us too on X, Esports Royale EN, or at your respective language. And yeah, we have a monthly final coming your way to give out our next golden ticket for the CRL 2026 World Finals. Still excited to see where it's going to be, and excited to see who fill out those final spots as the leaderboard is getting more flushed out. But today it's all about the creators, some of the biggest creators here in the world. I mean, tens of millions of subscribers slash followers between these 4 teams, which is pretty cool. And we have yet to see Team Triple Giant, which is going up against the Juicy Goblins right now. And here we go, just a step late, hopping into this second game here between Pedro and Bale. But luckily we didn't miss much action. Bale in a slight lead.
Yeah, Royal Hogs decks are pretty great for if you have to miss a deck, or if you have to miss a game for the first minute. Royal Hogs are a fun one, because all you're doing as a Royal Hogs player for the first minute is just trying to figure out what their cycle is and how they're going to defend, and then you kind of learn from there. So not a problem to to miss the first minute with that.
Yeah, didn't miss much action at all. And doing exactly what you said, AC is kind of figuring out what the cycle is. I mean, for both these guys too, because when you're sending a drill into a bad cycle for you and a good cycle for them defensively, that is worse than not playing anything sometimes.
And right here, Evo Lumberjack gonna get pretty aggressive, get a really good amount of value right here.
Yeah,
we should see 2 or 3 shots. 2 shots coming in, and that's going to be damage advantage for Bale at this point. All you're doing, if you're a fan of Bale and you're a fan of his side, is just hoping that you have at least a 25% chance of a win. And so far, Bale giving himself a 50-50 shot. I love what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, and he made Pedro spend a lot there on the right-hand side, using Evo Snowball plus the poison at the bridge. Now just having to get the poison down at the bridge. A lot of good value there. Golden Knight untouched as he crosses on the right-hand side, and the drill goes in for Pedro, as he probably feels pretty confident about how he's going to clean this up. Nice timed Fire Spirit in the back. And a lot dropped here on the board. Cannon Cart one side, Lumberjack plus Golden Knight on the other as Evo Piggies across the board.
I think there could have been a chance to try and put those all in the same lane, but pretty neat adjustment right there to kind of forget that. Mother Witch going to be protected. This is how you protect your troops right there. I love that he's trying to get aggressive, and he's okay with the cannon in the middle just because he knows it's protected by the Hogs.
Golden Knight connection on the right-hand side was huge for Bale, and Bale has had Pedro on his back foot this entire time. If you can pick up the 1v1 game against Pedro, that is a huge accomplishment for your team. 1584, 2108, 67 seconds remaining. Don't do it.
And right here, Royal Hogs going down the right lane. Cannon going to come down, but pretty late, and that's going to allow a lot of aggression to come down for Bale. Cannon Cart gets taken out by the Snowball, but not before the Cannon Cart gets a lot of offensive value once again. These Cannon Carts are just putting in too much work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed by the way Bale has kind of looked at this macro matchup and just kept the pedal to the metal, doing a great job with his dual lane pressure, doing a great job protecting his Mother Witch, and his cleanups have been really easy because the Golden Knight and the Lumberjack are both so effective. And just as I say that, the drill breaks through. 1127. But then the counter push that comes from defending those drills, really, really strong. No spell in hand. Pedro gets another poison down. Can Bale get enough damage through? He should be able to. And the one piggy does touch the tower and the Golden Knight connection. Pedro drops the 1v1 game here. And that is a tough spot to be in. A little bit of BM coming out here from Bale, as he just took down one of the best players in the world in 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, Bale has to feel incredible about himself. You are allowed to BM. You are allowed to send the crying faces if you beat Pedro in a competition. In fact, we encourage it wholeheartedly. I thought he did a great job overall of approaching the matchup. Those Mother Witches over the middle, I think he did a relatively decent job of protecting it. Every once in a while, he'd give up a little bit too much value for defensive poisons on Pedro's side. But for the most part, he kept things in the middle, he kept things separated, and he allowed himself to get aggressive. especially in that final 15 seconds. I thought he did a wonderful job of getting that last defense in and then going just straight all the cards at the bridge, not give your opponent a chance. And Pedro almost had a chance. Had he been able to stop that Golden Knight from dashing and he had gotten that snowball down on tower, he actually would have been able to win the game. Instead, because of the pressure, didn't give Pedro enough time. Just wonderful from Bale.
Yeah, and Bale, again, with those poisons, like, yes, he did give up some poison value a handful of times, but it was always basically at the bridge or at the river, which is really, really nice there. Not being able to get the value on top of tower as well was Pedro, and we also saw Pedro having to use his Evo snowballs quite a bit defensively, which is never really what you want. You know, if he had a good opportunity to use the Evo snowballs on offense, we'd be talking about a very different outcome here, but here we go. Final game of the set. As you can see, the Brazilians have definitely picked up a few more games this time than they did the first time. Would love to go 4 and 5 here to close out the rest of this. R-Tube in a very interesting position for his squad. And this is that Skellies. Just a one tile too low, I believe, on those Skellies defensively for R-Tube.
Benihoo going to take a bit of damage on the left and the right side. R2, but still perfectly content with the situation at hand. He has log. He should potentially even have Earthquake. He has delivery. Going against just kind of spell bait. I mean, this just seems like a wonderful matchup for R2 right here.
Yeah, I feel like R2 should be able to get a lot of value out of his Archer Queen. We'll see. And, of course, splitting piggies because there's no building is also an option. But the macro understanding of the matchup was an issue for R-Tube in his first 1v1 game.
Yeah, a lot of this depends on how Benihoo can utilize the Magic Archer and if he cannot allow just a ton of free value when he plays down the wall breakers. I like that he's starting to split. That's exactly what you need to be recognizing. And we'll see how he adjusts. Having even one of the Royal Hogs making it to the tower is just too much damage to be giving up. That's 200, 250 HP. Even though you're defending plus Skellies, just have to be really careful as this game goes along.
Yeah, and if I'm R-Tube, I have not a big advantage, but I've got, 200 HP in the lead at the moment. I'm going to start really focusing on playing some stout defense and getting as many Archer Queens down as possible.
And we're still waiting for that final card. I expected it to be EQ, and it is EQ. Gets the tower down to 1272. I believe it's a little bit lower. 1124, and a great Ice Spirit, not allowing any damage whatsoever. And a great Magic Archer. I mean, Archer is playing well.
I feel like Benny is just giving up a little bit more damage than I want to see him doing over and over, but a nice double connection there on the left-hand side. Early Ronin cycle here on the left side as well. High Tesla this time, but R-Tube, as you said, playing this well, goes for the cannon snipe on the Tesla. Doesn't get a lot out of it, but does make his opponent spend an arm and a leg, and now we get another Archer Queen on the board, and those Archer Queens, as I was saying, tough to deal with for Benny.
And Benny just not using the ability. I thought that was an easy opportunity to activate your ability, try and have it so that it's locking onto the Archer Queen and getting the shots past the Archer Queen onto the tower. Just not using the Magic Archer to its fullest potential. And you just absolutely need to in this kind of matchup.
R-Tube here in a great spot, 712 on his opponent's tower, and R-Tube's tower is basically the same as one of those goblins. Does not connect. Nice place there on the Ice Spirit on that tricky barrel from Benny. And an EQ cycle in here for R-Tube. R-Tube playing this like a pro. Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, this is beautiful work from R2, but Benihoo is consistently putting these barrels all over the board, and R2 is just stopping it every single time for the exact perfect response. It's not only, all right, he watched out with the log, he was able to defend it. He's watching it, and he's knowing, all right, I can Ice Spirit in this moment, I can deliver in this moment. Yeah. That is a very intelligent defense every single time from R2.
Benihoo turning up the heat a little bit and narrowing the gap. Now 1048 to 565. EQ comes in, delivery comes down. Piggies don't get the tower, but 418 damage is done. And there we go. AQ cycled in the back, and another deep barrel. Ice Spirit Plus with the easy cleanup. I like that play there. High Tesla.
Wow, really nice
on the
placement.
Magic Archer. Yeah.
And again, placing it behind.
Yeah.
I think that
Archer
might
Queen on
start.
the right-hand side.
Wow. It's whatever tower he wants. He can have. Log only does 35 damage, so he can't take it out with a log.
Yeah,
But an
really
earthquake will
interesting
take
there, AC, with the tricky barrels, quote-unquote tricky, since I'm not on camera at the moment, but those tricky barrels were not very tricky as that game went on. Still going to be a match win for the Gatitos, but not by as much as they would have liked. And honestly, if we're looking at how close that was, there's a couple things to take away from this. How close that was says a few things about the Predicteiros. Was it more about them figuring out their rhythm and maybe getting a little bit more comfortable, finding a little bit more chemistry in the 2v2, a little bit more success in the 1v1? Does that say more about Team Triple Giant? And does that mean that Team Juicy is just going to run away with this thing? Because if it was that close in the first match between the Gatitos and the Triple Giants, and then we see the Gatitos go that close against a team that was just 8-1 by Juicy's squad, there's kind of a lot up in the air right now. I'm very curious to see how things played out between Triple Giant and Juicy's team, because if it was a blowout there, then Juicy's team has probably almost run away with it. And as we are ready to go into our third matchup of the day, it is first time to give you guys, where's my phone? It's time to go to the next set of rewards here, guys. 2 chests coming your way. All right, I got mine. Again, I love this graphic. It's just so cool. All right.
Give me. I need a second. I accidentally scanned the first one once again.
Come on, dude. That's a boomer move. I'm gonna save mine. I'm gonna open mine on camera this time. I'm gonna open mine on camera as something I like to do before. There was one time that I opened on camera with a cracked screen, and I just got flamed in the chat. It was just we've all had cracked screens before, right?
Okay,
I mean,
my phone. I'm missing a camera on my phone, so like that's the level of cracked. So
you can't even see that. You didn't even have to say anything. But I like the honesty. Excited to see what my rewards are. I hope you guys are claiming your rewards. I did see that the mod in chat pinned the first drop. So in case you guys don't have access to your phone, don't understand how QR codes work, there is the ability to just click on the link in your there. Nice. All right. Here we go.
Also, I got 5,500 gold. Like
that's it
for both rewards. Yeah,
both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's mine. I'm gonna go. Oh nope. I'm off camera. Wow. Okay. Wow. We have ourselves a match. Wow. Team Triple Giant ends up picking up. I guess 5. Yeah, 5. Right? Oh no, 6. Yeah, you're right. Excuse me, 6. Because Juicy's team was at 8. So Juicy now 1-1. Gatitos 1-1. Predicteiros is 0-2 with 5 crowns. As you said, they haven't quite locked in last place, but they are not in a good spot. Triple Giant and the Juicy Goblins, though, had a great set there. And as you called out at the top of the show, it looks like Triple Giant is the team to beat, the only unbeaten squad here on the day. In the lead in terms of total points, but the Juicy Goblins does have the most crowns on the day. But it is about points. And of course the record. So very interesting here. Can't wait to see how Triple Giant goes. And that's exactly what you were talking about, AC. A very, very strong squad there with Trimax and Big Spin backing up the goated one in Morton. Okay, now finally going to be able to get to my rewards. I'm excited. All right, what do we got?
Come on,
okay,
good luck. Come on.
Here we go.
No whammies.
No whammies.
Oof.
Right, that's a wham on the first one. 1,100 gold.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Let's get you a 2-star,
right,
and
there's
let's
a
get gold
2-star.
again. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah!
Oh, wait, we got the same thing. 5,500 gold. Mine was, all right. Okay. Not the best for us commentators. Let us know in the chat what you guys got for your rewards. A few more rewards here on the day. A lot more action coming your way. And next up, I don't remember the schedule, but I believe we will now be seeing Team Triple Giant come out on broadcast, as we've seen the other 3 squads already. Here we go. C.H.A.O.S Mode. Oh no, we're going back to Juicy Goblins against the Gatitos.
Yeah, and we're going to have to kind of just keep everybody updated, because, I mean, we need to know. Hey, the Triple Giants, they're going up against the team that's been struggling the most. So Predicteiros going to have to, put on a show to allow the Juicy Goblins to even have a chance of winning this competition.
Yeah, and this should maybe then be a very, very evenly matched battle as well, because the Gatitos scored more points and won more games against the Triple Giants than the Juicy Goblins did.
So a lot on the line, and right here, C.H.A.O.S, just nothing better to commentate. You can commentate just looking at 1/4 of the map. That's the great part about C.H.A.O.S.
And here we go. Chain attack from the E-Wiz. We have this suspicious bush that I believe is casting the vines on reveal. There it is. Once again, thanks to the production squad. And the E-Barb hut here for Nagla, which is a nice pull there on the mods.
Yeah, getting the getting the Barb hut is just so powerful for Nagla. It instantly boosts his prediction market, whatever you want to call it, probably up to 75%, just having that activated ability.
All right. So far, so good. Nagla definitely in the lead, as I feel like that E-Barb hut is definitely the strongest modifier thus far. Trevor now getting the is that I think that's the reflection one for the Ronin.
Yes. I want to say you're correct.
And a Goblin Barrel on defense. Mega Knight there as well, and that is a rough set of interactions there for Trevor. And exactly what Nagla should do is he just sets up another E-Barb hut on the board. That poison should be on the Barb hut as opposed to here on defense, but maybe just trying to stop the bleeding.
Okay. I mean, that's another time where it feels like the timer's starting and troops are still getting placed in that exact moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point that you made that maybe a lot of people aren't thinking about. Here we go, Goblin Barrel plus Brawlers is just a way for Trevor to come back into it as we see Nagla just stacking those E-Barb huts. Knight, Mega Knight. The barrel to the king? Is that a BM throw? I guess so, because he knows he's going to take that tower. And then the E-Barb's on the right-hand side as well, so Nagla being a little bit feisty there. Love that.
Yeah, just having a little bit too much fun at that point, but I definitely respect that, for sure. Have your fun when you can have it,
And just waiting on Team Triple Giants to get started. It looks like we're actually going to hop over to them now. So for all of you guys that were waiting to see the Germans, we are going to get to their squad in just a bit, which you and I are both very, very excited about. Obviously, the strongest team on the day going up against the team that's struggling the most, as you were just pointing out, AC, Team Triple Giant against the Predicteiros. I think this is, again, when you talk about the 2v2, man, honestly, the 2v2 I think is probably where Triple Giants is making all of their money.
Yes.
Because they are going to be so strong. It feels like they should almost sweep 2v2 every single time. And then in terms of the 1v1, as much as I was saying that Pedro should be winning all of his games, we did see him lose to Bale. Morton, no slouch either, and he's the pro for Team Triple Giants. So this is why we are seeing exactly what you called at the top of the show kind of come together. Team Triple Giant going to be such a strong, formidable squad, and we're going to hop into the second game of Chaos, I believe, with them and be with them for the next little bit. And yeah, I'm excited to see the second and third set with Team Triple Giant. It felt like the Juicy Goblins were going to be absolutely unstoppable at the top of our show, and now we're seeing that it's actually going to be Triple Giant that is doing exactly what you expected, AC. Chaos was interesting there. I liked, I mean, just since we saw it on screen, I liked what Nagla was doing. I like that the creators have had a little bit of that feistiness. I like the BM, I like the BM plays, and here we go. Trimax bottom of your screen, Nobru at the top. Trimax in the lead as this game closes out, and Nobru running into the force that is Clash Royale, probably between Nobru, Trebor, and Nagla. It feels like maybe Nagla has the most experience out of the three. Not 100%, but that's what it's felt like so far.
Yeah, that's what I would assume too. Again, I said it at the beginning of the show where I was watching him and Juicy play together. I was kind of impressed and like a little blown away from the skill level shown, because you know it was clear they were having fun together, but it was also clear that he knew what he's doing. So Nagla seems like a very strong player to have as your additional guy on the squad. So, yeah, I mean, as good as he is, then you look at the Triple Giants and you're like, okay, well, that's
like if
the
Trimax is if Trimax is the weakest part of your squad,
exactly.
That's that is a tough spot to be in. So Team Triple Giant doing a great job with their team comp here, and I believe that was the first game of Creator versus Creator. So now we should be going over to Morton versus Pedro for game number 2 here of Oh, look at Morty boy getting a little bit of the scruff going on. Love to see it.
Love to see it. He looks good with whatever he chooses.
Never looked bad a day in his life, and always love a broadcast where I get to see Goten on screen. So here we go. Barb Hut and Suspicious Bush out as the first 2 cards, and Barrel as the first 3 cards, and kind of exactly what you called at the top of the show, AC, in terms of what we should see with our Chaos meta throughout the day.
Wow. Okay, we are 5 for 5 for playing the exact same cards.
Almost at the same time.
Yeah. So far, both players just completely mimicking the opposing player. This is incredible.
Pedro with a little smile on his face feels like he's feeling the same thing that you're talking about. And now I believe this modifier should change things up at least a little bit. We shall see.
Yeah.
And it does.
Wow, the E-Wiz getting the lightning is insane early on. This could change everything. But that fireball is also going to be huge.
The gigantic fireball is one of the more satisfying modifiers. It just looks awesome.
Yeah. Should be easy enough to reflect though. So we'll see if anybody gets
that's a great call. Morton should just be holding that Ronin if he does get that modifier to just place on the gigantic fireball. So we'll see if that does happen. And for your and my sake and the viewers at home, I really hope it does.
Yeah, right there.
Which one of these E-Wizzes is going to win?
Right there. I love the recognition from Morton. Doesn't overspend, allows a little bit of damage onto his left tower, just wants to defend with the Knight and a Knight only. And right there, Morton electing to get rid of the lightning, trying to get the 5 chain instead. Pretty crazy for him to feel like that. And the log, it's going to help, but that's a lot of damage coming in from these brawlers. All of a sudden, Pedro dominating this game.
Wow, I mean, I'm wondering if the idea there is that the lightning doesn't really ever get to the barb hut, whereas the chain can really help clean up the barbs that are coming out, but Morton takes a ton of damage. Pedro untouched, and there's that gigantic fireball once again. Log to clean up the barrel, and Pedro is actually pitching a complete shutout at the moment.
See, it almost feels like you can't get away with using a second ability on a troop that's going to die to a singular ability from your opponent. You know your opponent's always going to have Fireball for E-Wiz, so it should never be a situation where you're adjusting in that manner.
And there we go. Now Morton has brawlers of his own, but is it going to be too little too late? 30 seconds remain, only 100 HP on tower, 150. I have a feeling the fireball will do that, and here we go. Brawler barrel in, Morton elects to ignore it, which I think is the way to go. His knight, though, slowed down, does not get across the bridge, and that mega fireball cleans up those brawlers no problem.
Yeah, all of this is trying to force out the fireball. He will not be able to do enough. That fireball, MVP of the match for Pedro right there. He is just going to dominate early and dominate the entirety of it. Beautiful game and just beautiful usage of the abilities and what you should be choosing right there from Pedro.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean, that fireball mod was absolutely insane. He was making sure that the E-Wiz was never part of the conversation. And then when you talk about one of the strongest mods, I think that we've seen on the day, it really is that Goblin Brawler barrel. It has been so effective. And the ability to just make it a non-factor with the fireball, it is a -1 trade, but in terms of the damage that has come through, basically, I mean, there isn't. You know what's interesting is I guess if you save the E-Wiz ability that Morton had, maybe then that lightning actually cleans up that barrel pretty well, right? Because it's going to cast the lightning on those 3 units, and then you're baiting out the fireball on top of that E-Wiz, but I guess you don't have the Ronin Reflect yet, so... I like also that you and I are getting, we're starting to understand the strategy a little bit more here, but yeah, maybe a bit of a mistake there in terms of switching up those abilities for Morton.
Yeah, I really think that's kind of the entirety of the match right there. Had he kept that, he would have been able to defend properly, or at least a lot easier. And every single time, it felt like Morton was forgetting that it was brawlers, because every single time a Goblin Barrel came down on the map, he logged it plus this. Yeah. And yes, the log is still going to get value, but it just felt like a waste every time he played it on the map. I don't know. It feels like we kind of just saw like a one-off event, and Morton wasn't really himself in that moment.
All right, here we go. Game number 3 of C.H.A.O.S. coming your way. Big spin at the bottom, R-Tube at the top. And we've got the slow knight with the HP boost at the bottom of your screen.
We're seeing more of the same with these type of decks. Just trying to go bait plus Ronin. And this upcoming modifier is going to be pretty massive in terms of who's going to be able to win this. If you get the E-Wiz chain, the game can just be over just like that. Instead, getting just the E-Spirits, so not as powerful as it could have been, and Big Spin on the other side getting what could be the... Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking as well.
And someone in the chat saying that the E-Wiz Lightning doesn't help versus the Brawler Barrel. It should help, though, after it gets its first shot off, right? That's kind of what I was thinking, is that, like, once the E-Wiz actually gets its lightning attack off, it should clean up all 3 of those brawlers for a relatively fair trade, as opposed to having to overspend all of it. Oh, they're saying the E-Wiz does 1 lightning's worth of damage divided between the units. Oh, so it's not like 3 lightnings, or like a lightning's on each of the units attacked. It's 1 lightning split up. Okay, well, thanks for breaking that down for me. Making me look like a fool. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you didn't have every single modifier memorized?
And how it works mechanically. But it is good to know. So that is actually really good to know as this goes on. And we see the Epic Knight and the Epic Bar Putt mods.
The baby Mega Knights are just so funny.
Yeah, it looks hilarious. The baby Mega Knights and the baby Sparkies, there's something just so satisfying about seeing them on screen. But those baby Mega Knights are no joke, as Big Spin is starting to stack them on the board.
Yeah, and I believe the power, or the one with 95% health, is going to be able to walk in front, so should see a little...
Oh, this game mode is just the best. It's so fun. And then we see there the Goblin Barrel being used as a fireball on top of the hut, which is great play there from R2. Everyone kind of settling in to this fun event that we're doing. And there we go once again, giving the value on the hut, the goblins on the tower, and the damage on the tower, and then a fireball comes in as well. So R2 effectively has 2 fireballs. Chat saying, please don't ever get rid of Chaos Mode. I agree. This is super fun. And there we go. The barrel's going out.
And no response. Fireball going to come down, but it's actually going to miss one of the goblins. So all of a sudden, Big Spin, it felt like he was on his back foot for a minute and a half, and all of a sudden gets the tower down to 616.
Yeah, I felt like Big Spin was kind of like stalled out there for a moment, and then just a huge swing of damage there for him. And this feels like the time that the modifier will change up everything. If that's the epic poison, I think you just get it down. Oh, instead he tries to play it at the bridge. Oh, wow, the super fireball. Okay, here we go. Super fireball plus the infinite poison. Also, the names of things that we haven't been able to, you know, like, when do we ever get to say infinite poison or super fireball?
Okay, so that actually is the in-game name for it.
No, I don't think so. But that's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, works for me.
The double barrel here coming in on the right-hand side. R-Tube has nothing for it, and would have loved to see R-Tube just use his log, right?
Yeah.
Like, just save the log for that.
Yeah, it's no question the log should have been placed on the Goblin Barrel.
One of the most straightforward interactions in the game for a very, very long time is the log on the Goblin Barrels, and that was just regular goblins. Someone asking, yeah, what do we get for watching? Well, you get to see some awesome gameplay. We get to see Chaos, which has been Chaos, which I love. We get to see 2v2, which has been... there has never been a moment when we're casting 2v2 that I don't miss 2v2. Obviously for you, I'm sure there's so many layers to it, being one of the best 2v2 players of all time, competitively. And then the other thing you do get are rewards. We are giving out rewards all throughout this broadcast. We've given out 2 already. We've got more coming your way as the day goes on. And we're also giving out $50,000, not to them, not to us, but to everyone competing here in the competition. And I believe last place even still gets $9,000 split between the 3 of them. $3,000 just for showing up. That's not bad. That's not bad. And as of right now, it does look like the Predicteiros are going to be in last place, but there's still a lot more gameplay to be coming your way. Team Triple Giant is starting to run into a more fully formed Predicteiros, though, because they are doing better here in Chaos, and we saw them do better in 1v1 in the last set, or at least R-Tube was able to pick up his game. Pedro ran into a tough Bale, so it feels like everyone's just getting a little bit more comfortable, but this is what we were talking about, AC. Getting into the 2v2 set with the Triple Giants, this is where it feels like they should really run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are so strong. My favorite thing, and we already got rewards coming in.
All right. More rewards coming your way.
So we can take out the cameras now.
Got mine. There we go.
Already? How'd you do that so fast?
I've got a strong iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Okay.
I need to get a new one. I need to get a new phone. I need more memory. That's actually the only thing that I need is more memory on my phone. I'm like scared to do anything or go anywhere or take videos of anything now because I can't even, at this point, I can't even update my phone because it costs, it's like cost. It's going to take up like 12 more gigs and I don't have that to give.
Yeah, I mean, I need a new phone as well. Every time I try to take a picture, every time I see a picture or try to take a picture, I just get so sad. It's like 20% of the screen is like completely blinded from the sun because like, I think the cameras that's broken is like the long range camera or something. I don't even know how it works. I just know that my photos are not the greatest.
At least most importantly, you can claim your rewards on the broadcast. Third reward out right now, and then we have one more. You're like, no, man, I want to be able to document my life.
Yeah, I mean, the rewards are fine, yeah.
But I can also just click on those here in the chat, which also, if you guys don't know, you can join us here on our page, the Clash Royale page on YouTube, and there are pinned rewards from our mods as we are about to get into our 2v2 set here, which should be a very, very fun 2v2 set. As we were saying, this is the one where the Triple Giants are going to make their money. There is no weak squad here. The weakest squad you're going to get is Big Spin and Trimax, which I don't want to play against them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy because if you look at like comparative skill level, I think they're probably stronger than something like Morton and Trimax, or Morton and Big Spin. Like, there's a chance that Morton might be a part of the team that's weakest comparatively to the competition, and that's crazy to think about.
Well, here we go. We're going to find out just how strong this squad is. Trimax and Morton against Nobru and Pedro. Name switch there on the right-hand side. If you guys don't know what Pedro and Nobru look like at this point. And here we go, AC. Looks like we might be getting lava in both directions, question mark?
Wow. I thoroughly enjoy Morton and Trimax right here. They're very appreciative. And wow, actually, yeah, in both directions. I thoroughly enjoy Pedro and Nobru.
Lightning coming out, and the Vines deal with that Inferno. Lightning plus Vines. There's an interaction that you very rarely see Lightning and Vines together, and using that in 2v2 is a great call.
Yeah, really good. Oh, that's why Morton feels
Yeah, I know. I was like, what's wrong here? And then, yeah, we can see there the Goblin Cage. I love it. Morton is always just a competitor.
Yeah.
He's taking it so seriously, that lineup there. Which was also a Trimax play, so... But he's still got a smile on his face. Here we go, 23.99, 18.02, only separated by about 500 HP, and of course, do have the King Tower activation, does Team Triple Giant.
Yeah, it's always going to be tough, though. You know your opponent's going to have the Evo XE ready to go right there. No Evo XE, but Lightning Nado going to defend brilliantly. Not enough Elixir to set themselves up with another Lava. Usually, once you're heading into double, you can start spamming them and trying to get spells out on the board. Kind of just... I think they were missing just one Elixir that would have kind of changed the next 30, 45 seconds. Instead, they have to reset.
I do really like seeing the Phoenix and the Spirit Empress in 2v2. I feel like they're two really annoying cards to deal with. And the Golem set up in the back here.
Yeah, it's because they take that second spell. It's not just a singular one. You can wipe it off. It forces out so much.
Great lightning. Yeah, great lightning there. And Trimax with a bit of a fist bump, seeing all this damage come in. That poison's going to clean everything up. And this is almost basically tower down. And Pedro, oh wow, a lot of Elixir leak there. I mean, 2 Elixir, but 2 Elixir in 2v2 is almost like 4 in 1v1 there from Nobru. And the Germans up by about 600 HP at the moment. A Nado to the opposite lane is that Baby Dragon, and I don't really know how necessary that Nado is there. That Nado might be more necessary later on defensively, but Pedro wanted to do that.
Yeah, right here, Inferno Dragon is kind of risky. Your opponent's going to be able to kind of easily defend this. I feel like I would have liked to see him sit around with that and use that for defense. I think a slight mistake, but nothing too crazy so far.
Yeah, that Evo Inferno used defensively to charge up on the Golem, and then you get it to come across the board and get behind a Lava Hound when fully charged. That's a scary unit to deal with.
Pretty crazy to see, but it feels like Morton's the most vocal out of all these players. We're used to seeing him not necessarily shy away, but not think it's necessary. This time, he kind of helping his teammates out when he can, and a lot coming down. Need to go defensive Vines, and that should work out.
Should get a hit.
Yeah.
And it does. 731, 443. Yeah, what was always fascinating about Morton and Sam, also one of the greatest 2v2 duos in the history of Clash Royale, was that they didn't really have to talk to each other much. So that's a great call that you're making here about Morton being the shot caller, which feels like is the correct way to go, but it's just a kind of a change of what he's used to in 2v2. And the ground overwhelm is being recognized maybe a little bit late. Pedro and Nobru doing a pretty dang good job against a stacked squad there between Morton and Trimax.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed what I saw from Pedro and Nobru, but I loved what I saw from the Germans. I thought they dominated the map. I thought they did a great job. There were times where it was completely accidental good predictions, where they would get the timing out with the vines, where they would delay it by that extra half second, and it's like, all right, I think they need another card. I think they're going to play something else. I'm going to go Vines now. Instead of going Vines at that exact moment, they tried to get that extra card. And I think they caught the Executioner 2 separate times by delaying and doing the added play that not many others would do. I thought they just played it brilliantly that match.
Yeah, Vines, such a great pull in 2v2. It used to just be freeze, right? It was always just freeze if you needed that kind of utility. But the Vines doing that bit of damage, obviously a smaller targeting because you're only getting 3, which is exactly what you're talking about, but then also making it so that you can attack those units that are in the skies on the ground, and then the combination between the lightning and the vines take care of that Inferno Dragon. Really, really fun deck composition there from the Team Triple Giant, and also the first time that we've seen Lava on the day, I believe, right? Isn't that the first time we've seen it in 2v2?
At most we've seen it twice. I'm trying to remember, but I think that was the first time, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, exactly kind of what we're expecting, but pretty close from Nobru and Pedro. It felt like they were starting to recognize that they could overrun them on the ground. I guess if there wasn't that one misplayed Goblin Cage early on, that probably would have not been quite as close, that lined up that Executioner perfectly. You saw the big response there, or reaction from Morton. Yeah, should be a lot of fun as we hop into the next game. Remember, the way that it works out, guys, is it's Pro and Creator versus Pro and Creator, and then it's Creators all the way across the board in game number 2. So we're about to see Big Spin and Trimax versus Nobru and R-Tube. And that, I feel like, is going to be a tough one. Nobru and R-Tube definitely have their work cut out for them in that second one. And then it'll be Pro and Creator versus Pro and Creator again. And that is going to be Big Spin and Morton. So, yeah, this should be a very, very fun 2v2 set coming your way.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. Yeah, we're going to have to see what Big Spin and Trimax want to do. Both of these guys very talented with Graveyard, so I don't know if we've seen Graveyard yet. I feel like maybe we have, maybe we haven't in 2v2, but I think there's a lot of potential for it, especially because it can do well against bait. Not that it's a great matchup, but if you adjust properly, you have that opportunity. So still waiting for a few more cards to get introduced. Both of these players, both Big Spin and Trimax, are very talented Tornado players. So always have to worry about that when you're running bait. Can you protect your King Tower from getting activated? And they were not able to do that with the start of the game. Ronin putting in a lot of work, cleaning everything up nicely. Both teams just delaying. Still could be Graveyard, still could be Golem. And we are going to see Golem. So it was something I was discussing in an earlier set in a previous round, but you have to be careful about using your tanks in a way where the support troops can go in front of it. Never a problem when one player has 8 elixir and the other player has 2. So that's a easy way to adjust. What do you want?
I want 2v2 chaos. Like, let's just spice it up a little bit more. 4 modifiers going. At some point, like 16 modifiers going. Towers have like 4 times as much HP. I don't know. Something to think about. Something to think about. The dev team is just like, shut up.
I think the problem is they know people like you don't have phones that can handle it.
Okay. Whoa. Catching strays, bro. I was just trying to have some fun. All right, 45 seconds left here in regulation. And only a little bit of an advantage to R2 and Nobru, which is not what you would expect, probably on paper, but here we go, double golem push coming at the bridge.
And just spamming everything at the bridge. Rocket going to get a ridiculous amount of value right there. Evo Lumberjack going to clean everything up, but it will get taken out. So no offensive pressure from the Evo Lumberjack. And all of a sudden, I mean, this has been beautiful defense from R2 and Nobru. And yeah, they just have to feel great right now.
Chat liked my idea, Josh, so there.
What chat are you looking at?
It's just me typing to myself. Golems in opposite direction. How do you feel about splitting your golems, AC, in 2v2?
I think it's not the end of the world solely because of the response that came out. Because Evo Valkyrie was placed on the map, you know the bomb tower is going to get taken out by the time the other golem comes out. I think it's one of the few opportunities where not only does it make sense, but it's completely the right play.
Okay, nice. Dark Prince ability does come in, knocks that Valkyrie back a little bit and gets some nice damage on tower, and just like that, Big Spin and Trimax only down by about 300 HP. Nobru and R2.
Yeah, huge mistake right there, going with the barrel in front, allowing the golem to just tank entirely. This time, again, going in with the double golem, split lane pressure. They don't have a lot of easy troops to take out these goblin barrels or anything like that, so it can get interesting. But all of a sudden, 1398 to 1339, some of the golem knights getting on top of the tower. A lot of value, a lot of damage coming in from Big Spin and Trimax.
Yeah, doing a good job, getting a lot of great dual lane pressure here. Barrel's still coming in, a little bit of a double drop there on defense, the Executioner plus the guards, but they have a nice push in front of it, and you know the golems taking up the attention for that hero Dark Prince ability. 981, 1339, 1219, excuse me. The Goblin does get on tower, 10 seconds remain. There's the lightning. Do they have anything in the tank? I don't believe they do. And Trimax and Big Spin gonna take this one in a nice comeback victory. And yeah, the double golem push was really good, and just in terms of breaking up their defensive capabilities, Nobru and R2.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came down to just solely the skill level difference. I think there were a couple opportunities where Nobru and R2 had the potential to maybe go Bridge Princess. There was one opportunity where there was like 6 seconds where the golem was behind the crown tower, it was walking up. Instead, they elect to go Goblin Barrel, and they placed it on the tile where the golem was protecting the tower. It was just all those missed opportunities kept slipping away from them, and they weren't even that difficult to find. I thought they knew what they were doing, and they overthought, or they weren't prepared in some way. Because at the end of the day, a Bridge Princess once or twice, you rock it twice, you win that game instead of having to look at a defeat screen at the end of the match.
Yeah, that's a great call, and it also just really breaks up the sequencing of your golem push, right? And that's a huge part, especially in 2v2, when you get you only get really one shot of putting together that perfect synergy, that perfect offensive push. You know, the units where you want them, you know, because again, Elixir is flowing slower. The cycle takes a lot longer to get back around. So if you force units out in front of that golem, all of a sudden that golem push does become a lot less threatening. So maybe they need you coaching them, AC, because yeah, I agree. And yeah, that Goblin Barrel placement, that's never what you want to see, where your opponent can basically just completely ignore it with what they've already placed on the board. You're not asking them to spend more. You're not asking them to mess up their cycle, and yeah. So and this is kind of what we expected from Team Triple Giant. Is we want to see them dominating in this 2v2 set. This is where it feels like they make all their money. And here we go, double barrel right out the gate from Big Spin and Morton. And this should be a fun battle, but this should be in my opinion, a moment for Team Triple Giant to really dominate in the 2v2.
So they do activate the King Tower. Slight misplacement of the Tornado. Not the end of the world, though. I mean, it's really not the end of the world for both teams. You know, Pedro's team was able to get the King Tower activation, and Morton's team is just looking for chip on chip. So both teams happy with the early start, and it's looking like Pedro and R2 are probably going to lean towards the Golem type of decks. But I don't know, especially with 2v2, you have a big opportunity to have a lot of fun with your creations.
And that Mega Knight is just, I mean, just so much damage given up early, and now a Golem in the back. They are at a slight elixir advantage because the Golem is on the board, but when you're playing against Bait, that advantage is not as impactful because of exactly, I mean, this is exactly kind of what you were talking about in that last game is like, look, you need to play aggressive. You need to make them play units out of cycle. You need to make them spend elixir elsewhere. And so an aggressive barrel plus Dark Goblin at the bridge, basically, and now this Golem is just unsupported.
Yeah. Because you have all these incredible counters. You have the Dark Goblins that can be placed off to the side. You have the Evo and even the non-Evo Mega Knights that are going to put in a lot of work. You are completely fine as long as you separate the troops from each other, and that's what we saw in that first push, and that's why it was so easy. But I will say, they did get a lot of damage. Way more than I expected right there.
Yeah, it kind of just went from bad to worse in terms of defending. At first, it felt like, all right, let me just take a little bit of damage to stay on offense. There was, like, goblins placed after a baby dragon was already on top of tower, and then it was just, like, everything got a little bit more value than I feel like Team Triple Giant wanted to give away. That being said, looking at the last two cards not played yet, you imagine one of those is probably Rocket. You imagine that they are very, very close to being, oh, wow. And that is a devastating blow here for the Predicteiros.
Definitely starts to make sense why they allowed some of these situations to occur, but that Inferno Dragon got a ton of value. They didn't really have the right response, no cannon in cycle, and they do get to it. That is a massive cannon to be able to protect your tower right there.
And damage in, though, as that Xe is there to clean everything up, sped up by the Baby Dragon, so now having to spend a little bit more on defense. The Lumberjack might break through. Golden Knight is there to help clean up. Dark Goblin up high, and panic is setting in for Team Triple Giant. I don't know if they don't have enough, AC.
Yeah.
They do not have enough. Wow. And Morton and Big Spin, kind of exactly what you had said when you were saying that Morton might actually be part of the weakest combination because the other two, I mean, only just because the other two won. Maybe just running into a really well-oiled machine in Pedro and R-Tube at this point.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Morton is going to expect excellence out of his teammates. And every once in a while, that can create situations where, all right, this is the right play, he should make the right play, but maybe he's not going to, and it either brings hesitation into his teammate or to himself. We saw it at the very end. The log hit nothing, the Dark Goblin was brought over to the right side, and there just wasn't enough elixir. And if it's either he didn't have enough confidence in his teammate, or somebody just made that one wrong error. And yeah, just shockingly, Morton's side was the team that lost out of all three.
A big win there for the Predicteiros. They got 2 games so far to a 4-game Triple Giant, and now we're going to get into the 1v1 set where things get really interesting here. I mean, Pedro and Morton could go either way. R-Tube and Big Spin, I feel like, could also go either way. It feels like Trimax probably has the advantage in terms of the creator versus creator game, number 1. But anything can happen. And, you know, there's still the whole matchup conversation. So here we go. Game number 1, Trimax and Nobrew. And like I said, this does feel like a game where Trimax should really be able to pick up a win for his squad. Especially because Nobrew has just been running the same deck, right? Hasn't he just been running...
This Royal Hogs?
Yeah. Piggy's AQ.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you said that, it reminded me of what he's been running every time we've seen his gameplay. So yeah, it really could be the case, and it looks like Trimax might have recognized that as well, going pretty heavy into being able to defend these Royal Hogs.
Does take a lot of damage there on the left-hand side. Looks like Trimax is going to be running Graveyard. You know, the one thing is that there's a lot going on, a lot of different games, a lot of different game modes, a lot of different teams and players, so you might not be, you know, ahead of the scouting report, same as you and I are have the ability to watch so many of these matches from a bird's eye view. Not the worst matchup for Nobrew, but we shall see.
Yeah, these Goblin have variation decks. Sometimes they I don't know. It's always weird to be able to figure out if I think they're going to do well or do poorly in a specific matchup. It's a lot that goes into it for every side. Whether or not they're aware of the earthquake and if they can protect their Goblin Huts from getting earthquake damage plus tower damage. There's just so many different variables, and it's completely dependent on how the player is going to play that matchup.
And I like what Trimax is doing here. I really agree with his decision-making and kind of trying to clog up the weaker lane with the Furnaces. The Furnaces are going to be a bit of an X factor for Trimax, as there is not a good way to deal with the Furnaces until they cross the bridge. And AQ connects on the right-hand side. There's the Goblin Hut in the middle. No Earthquake coming out for Nobrew.
Yeah, I'm okay with giving up one. I'm somewhat alright with giving up two, but giving up 3 shots to the Archer Queen is just a lot of damage on your side. Right here, getting pretty aggressive, and I like that activated ability.
Yeah.
Nothing in cycle for these last couple Skellies.
Wow, and that actually does keep the Evo Furnace alive, so a leap there from the Fire Spirit. That's a great play there by Trimax with the Hero Knight.
And again, just setting up. This is exactly what you want to be doing with these Furnace decks. You know your opponent can't really get aggressive and use their Earthquake offensively just yet. So you have free reign to just stack those as often as much as you want. Wow, that's a lot of damage to be given up.
741 now. And pretty much what we were expecting between Trimax and Nobrew going up against each other.
Perfect defense right there. Berserker gonna cross the bridge, not get any value, but that's perfectly fine. Trimax already understanding all he needs to do is continue to set these exact same pushes up.
Yeah.
Right there, kind of a mistake though, missing the poison. That could definitely change things as the game goes along.
Yeah, you never want to see that. This Furnace, though, is just a nuisance for Nobrew to deal with. Just clogging up a lane, making your opponent play in one specific spot, which makes those defenses a lot easier. There's the poison skellies are already in. And Nobrew being very harshly introduced to the world of 1v1 Clash Royale.
Yeah.
I feel like he's had a rough day.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that a lot of his opponents are actually just really solid players.
Yeah.
Players that'll give pros fits because they know their opponent is streaming. They know that everybody's going to clown them. But these guys have been playing for 6, 8, 10 years. I mean, Trimax has been in the game longer than I have. So, I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, this team is just a well-oiled machine. When Morton doesn't step up, Trimax is going to step up. When Trimax can't, then you know Big Spin will. It's just everybody's there for each other. This team is like a World Cup roster right now. Everybody's playing for the team, not for individual success.
Yeah. I mean, it really is definitely the strongest team, that we're seeing in this competition. I think it's really about the Gatitos and the Juicy Goblins to see if they can make something happen as the day goes on. The roster is essentially set through all of their sets for the whole rest of the day. That's kind of how it is from the very beginning moving forward. So again, team chemistry as the day goes on, especially in 2v2. I think changing things up in the 1v1, but it's really hard, especially for someone like Nobrew, who probably has, between him and Trebor, and it already seems like Nagla has a little bit more experience, but like these guys are kind of have to be one-trick ponies in the 1v1. You don't want them to try something new if they have no experience playing it.
Yep.
And this pig deck, it's actually not a very easy deck to be great with either.
No.
You know, this is actually a pretty high skill cap deck for anyone to play. And especially if your opponent is able to survive into double and triple elixir, they're able to usually figure out a way to stop your pushes and still have enough to get back on offense. That's what we saw a lot of from Trimax there. So here we go, game number 2. This should be a super fun one. Pedro, top of your screen, going up against Morton. This is a C.Raw matchup if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, feels like we're in the final round before the championships. I mean, these players are 2 of the best in the world, and so far, Morton running his bread and butter, Pedro running just a normal deck for him that he's just simply ultra talented, not best in the world, but still probably a top 20 player with Graveyard out there.
Definitely, and when you talk about control, that's something that Pedro absolutely loves. And this Graveyard deck, very, very strong, very fast cycle, very defensive. And a bit of a, you know, he misses the Tricky Barrel, he gets the Knight down in time, and still even in Elixir, but now Morton has to defend, so... This is an interesting bait deck for Morton. He's going with the Princess, the Wall Breakers, the Evo Barrel, but he's got Golden Knight and Dark Prince.
Yeah, definitely wants to be prepared for any sort of minor wall breakers potentially. I think that might have been something that he was leaning towards. And right there, this is what I'm talking about with the pros. They're always trying to adjust, always trying to predict. That Tesla right there should activate properly.
Yeah.
It will, and take out the Princess.
It almost felt like a misplay, right? Like a misclick with where it was on the board, with what was on the board, but obviously not going to be the case here with Pedro, just knowing it's going to pop up just in time for the Princess, clean it off the board, don't have to think about it, and now Morton is kind of forced into playing in one lane or doing one thing for just that next little bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, even after witnessing it, it still doesn't feel like it should have awoken from its slumber. So, just a good placement right there, and just good knowledge of micro and macro. Something we obviously expect with Pedro.
And the Tricky Barrel works once again. Morton not able to get the chain there with the Golden Knight ability, but the tankage comes through. 24-52 now. Morton doing a great job with, again, like you said, AC is bread and butter. Pedro ready to go to catch that Princess at the bridge. Well played by Pedro. Morton even trying to double down with the Skellies to see if he could, you know, if the Knight maybe goes to the inside. And now we see a Graveyard, and you might wonder about that placement, and it's because of exactly what you saw there with this one skeleton on the side. You see that one skeleton on the side closest to the King Tower. Wow, the leap there and the shot from the Furnace. Really, really well played there by Pedro. But that one skeleton spawning directly on top of the tower. Really nice placement there from Pedro, understanding, obviously, the changes to Graveyard over the last several months.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, maybe the Rascals would have been a little bit better to defend, and maybe Dark Prince at the bridge. That could have been an opportunity for him, but elected to defend with the Dark Prince, and all of a sudden he's still got himself a lead. Princess on the left side, just doing what princesses do, just trying to clean up nicely.
Yeah, and that Golden Knight ability does get it on top of tower. That should be a leap from the Fire Spirit. These Fire Spirits doing great work for Pedro. But the Golden Knight, in return, has been doing a great job for Morton. Bit of a, feels like a misplay there. Would have loved to have the Dark Prince behind that Rascal Boy, and now Morton turning up the heat on the left-hand side as well.
One of the wall breakers staying alive, not going to finish the job though. Skeletons to protect the Princess, and that's not going to be enough. Morton, slight misplay, wasn't quick enough, wasn't the right timing, and all of a sudden his Princess is off the board.
Yeah, you saw a little bit of a sly smile there from Pedro, recognizing that the Skellies were going to do just enough. Another Tricky Barrel comes in to the back. Golden Knight connects again, and Morton is just really making Pedro play uncomfortable. Princess up high again. No snipe there on the Princess. Pedro's just going to let it do its thing for a moment as he takes poison value.
Yeah, and we're just waiting for the time when it's going to be the Evo Snowball in cycle. Here it is. Trying to get some sort of dash, but he misses the Evo Snowball. That could have been game. That could have been Golden Knight putting in value instead. I think it's over.
Oh, that's going to get there, AC.
Wow!
There was so much on the board with the Fire Spirits and the Skellies. That is a massive chain. 12 seconds remain. Morton needs to play some stout defense here. It's not going to be enough.
Yep.
Wow. Wow, that was an insane Golden Knight ability from Morton. But then Pedro having just enough time to get in another great graveyard offensively.
Yeah, and I mean, this could be the difference between thousands of dollars, too. You know, depending on where the leaderboards are at and how well the Juicy Goblins are doing. Also, I told you there was going to be a joke at the beginning of the show. It was something along the lines of, like, why didn't they add Nagla to the name of Juicy Goblins? Like, they couldn't figure that out because, like, it is impossible to figure out how to include his name.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I'll say something that I can't say on broadcast somehow by trying to create something. I don't even know. Yeah. Wow. That was very, very interesting. Very well played there by both those guys. Exactly what you want to see when you see two world-class players go head-to-head like that. It'll be interesting to see how the leaderboard looks as we are almost done with our day, guys. We have one more match coming your way. We're going to check in with the leaderboard, and we're going to crown our champions of the lion's share of a $50,000 prize. I think it's like $17K or something like that. I mean, awesome way to spend your Sunday.
Something like
I'm excited to see who it's going to be, but that was real. That was a super fun game. The ability for Morton, I mean, yeah, you said it at the very beginning, Morton playing his bread and butter. The ability for him to create as much offense and get as many connections as he did, the tricky barrels coming through, it's just such a testament to how good he is playing bait because, you know, someone like Pedro, I don't think hardly ever misses that many tricky barrels, but there was a bunch of them. Morton doing such a great job of kind of sending tricky barrels at the same time as creating offense at the bridge, at the same time as making Pedro have to focus on the princess on the left-hand side. And then when you talk about Pedro, his ability to clean up those princesses on the left, whether he had to poison it, whether it was just Skelly's late or that, you know, that uniquely placed Tesla, it's just one of the reasons why we love Clash at the highest level.
Yeah, and right here, going into this final game, Big Spin going to be running Archers, Skelly's E-Spirit, and we're seeing 4 1 elixir cards. Is this RG cycle? What are we looking at from R2?
I don't know, but all I know is if I have 4 1 elixir cards, I am not going to leak 6 elixir. And is this like a weird expo in both lanes?
Yeah. I have seen people mess around with a lot of Expo as of late, trying to go like Ronin, Ice. Whoa!
Yeah, that's what I mean. It looked like Big Spin is running Expo. Yeah, it should be double Expo, but R2 needs to place units. Okay, I see. I was going to say he needs to place units to protect his Expo, but he placed it out of range. Okay. Very rare that we commentate on Expo, and now we're getting an Expo versus Expo matchup. One looking very down the barrel as Big Spin is running the Expo deck that we are all used to seeing, and then R-Tube running an extra layer to the Expo pump, usually 2-spirit deck, I feel like. I guess sometimes we do see with these 4-1 elixir cards, but just going to try to stack those pumps and get as much value as he can.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. He can't. It's really hard for him to outcycle. As great as all his 1 elixir cards are, it can be very difficult to stack enough pumps to create enough pressure. Because all Big Spin needs to do is make it to triple elixir within 300 HP worth of damage. If he can pull that off, he controls his own destiny. It's about his defense, and then he can just cycle fireballs at the end of the game. R-Tube is going to need to figure something out, and I don't know if it's possible. Does this redirect Expo?
Tesla up high, the Knight ability there, and this should be a breakthrough for R2. Big Spin gonna have to keep spending. Only 3 elixir in the tank, but he has to deal with that. That's a nice fireball, though, to stop everything in its tracks. And R2 right back on the offense again.
Yeah, needs to get a Knight down, and he's going to go same lane. He had the opportunity to go opposite lane. And this Tesla high is also going to be a little bit...
It's risky plays. And that's on tower. That's huge. Skelly does not kite. And now we see the desperation cleanup.
Wow.
And now, as you were talking about Big Spin controlling his own fate, R-Tube firmly in the lead. And he's not playing anything into that left-hand side.
Okay, good recognition from Big Spin, though. That's the only way he can bring himself back into this game, allowing a lot of damage onto every single tower. That's exactly what you want from your players. You want to just give yourself a chance, and I love that Big Spin recognized this. Yeah,
Big Spin actually in a good spot now. He's going to have double Expo on the board. The first Expo has connected. Knight is going to be on top of the tower as well. I'm using the ability if I'm him. Doesn't use the ability. Second Expo is down. R-Tube now gasping for air. And it's on a tower again. Wow, AC. Now you are in a spell cycle situation, right?
Yeah, you have every opportunity in the world. Just,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see it right here. He's placing the Expo. He needs to place that one tile higher or one tile into the middle. Big Spin had the opportunity to go in with the Fireball on top of the Expo and the tower. That's all. Oh okay.
My goodness, that wizard almost connects to tower. Big Spin cutting this very close, and you can see the look on R-Tube's face. He recognizes what happened. Fireball in, log in, just needs to get back around to another log. And Team Triple Giant takes the Expo matchup here. What a fun way to end our day.
I mean, that is brilliant coming in from Big Spin. To know that he can give up that damage on the right. The Evo Archers were in cycle. It all starts because of that brilliance from him and getting himself back in the game. That's what we call the 1%, the 5%, just give me a chance. He pulled it off to perfection. And to do that the final game, I mean, just so much respect to him in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't hit panic. He just did exactly what you said, AC. He gave himself the only way that he was going to get a fighting chance, which is just basically eat an entire Expo on the right-hand side, get a little bit of damage on it so it doesn't take your tower, and then use your Evos, use your, your tank to get back into it, get 2 Expos down,
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, as you were also talking about, just go with that Fireball cycle. Your opponent has no way to get on tower. That was tough to watch if you're an R-Tube fan, but beautiful if you were supporting Big Spin and the Triple Giants.
Yeah, and now it's just fully dependent on like what's going on with the other side of the bracket, what's happening with Juicy Goblins, what's happening right here. Did that final match mean something? That's one of those things that you have to look at as well. Is it the difference between making $4,000 or $6,000? It's just everything is on the line right there. And, I love both of these players for running Expo in that final game of the day.
I know.
I mean, that's also great.
I would have never expected to see Expo like that. I love that R-Tube went with the 4 1 Elixir cards. I've run into that deck before. It is so easy to have exactly what happened to Big Spin happen, where all of a sudden you were down in Elixir, you make one misplay. We were talking about how the Knight goes in the same lane, the Tesla's in the same lane. It's right there for the Wizard and the Valkyrie to just get so much value. That's what I'm actually seeing on my screen right here. And then that Expo is still at half health at that point. Big Spin has nothing to do other than just eat the damage. He does get archers out, but R-Tube does a great job cleaning it up with his own spirits again. And then he goes back on the other side. All right, here we go. And it looks like Triple Giant is going to take it. And the Juicy Goblins go from a very dominant first place all the way down to third. And that's kind of what we were talking about after that second match was over today, where we were like, wow, the Gatitos only losing to the Triple Giants by, 5-4 all of a sudden made them look a lot more dominant than they were. Juicy Goblins go 1-2. Predicteiros go 0-3 on the day with only 8 total points. That's a long day for that team, but like we said, they're still going to get a nice little payout. Gatitos Mewing being able to bounce back after losing match number 1. They win 2 in a row to put themselves in second place, 2-1 on the day. And AC, as you called it, Triple Giant 3-0 on the day. Absolute perfection from the Germans, and they are going to be the champions of our Creator Showdown League with Chaos, 2v2, and of course 1v1. Man, what an awesome event.
This was so much fun. You know, when you can bounce off the next game mode and say, all right, this is my favorite. Well, actually, it might be this one. Actually, maybe every once in a while, I just want to see the normal game mode. I think it was really well done, really well set up. And, you know, any competition where Morton, Big Spin, and Trimax are the winners, you know, something was done right in the preparation of everything. So
Yeah.
I loved what I saw from their gameplay. I mean, just huge congratulations to them. I don't care how fun the competition is, whatever the tournament is, it can be you and 3 other people entered. You win a tournament, that's confidence moving forward. That's going to make, you know, any sort of push for CRL Worlds that much easier because you know you can win it. It's these little things that add up over the course of the year that prepare you for Worlds. And so that just makes me that much more confident. We'll be seeing Morton later on, and we'll be seeing him do well.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you're talking about that because it feels like the only team without a true world finalist push is the Gatitos con Mewing, because Benihoo and Bale, neither of them are really in the conversation there, but Surgical is still trying. Obviously, Pedro is qualified, and then Morton, obviously, still out there in the running for CRL. They pick up a huge win today, a huge paycheck. Their team synergized. The chemistry was perfect. Their 2v2 sets were really, really nice there. It was actually shocking that they lost that one game that we saw from them, but a huge day for them. We see the Predicteiros in 4th. We see the Juicy Goblins in 3rd. We see the Gatitos con Mewing in 2nd, and then the Team Triple Giant taking away the dub. AC, any final thoughts on the day from this super awesome event? We obviously have one more reward to give out too, but I want to hear some thoughts from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was great adjustments throughout the day. C.H.A.O.S, the only thing I didn't love about it was that these players were too good at C.H.A.O.S. I thought everybody had too much of an understanding of the meta and how to play the game. It kind of made it a little bit slower where everybody was just trying to do the same log, bush, all that. The gameplay itself was fantastic. 2v2, on the other hand, was beautiful. I thought it was just amazing how well some of these teams gelled together and how poorly some of the other teams didn't. I thought it was always really fun to see the differences between that. And, you know, the decks were enjoyable as well. I loved what I saw out of 2v2.
I know, it was interesting because at the top of the show, C.H.A.O.S felt like it could kind of go anywhere. Surgical had that really fun deck that he dominated with, but then, yeah, there was just like a firm meta of basically 2 styles of deck that we were going to see for the whole day, really leaning on those Goblin Barrels and the Barb Huts. All right, guys, final reward on the day. Get your phones out. Get ready to click on that link. What a great event this was. And remember, all these events are always, I mean, it seems like at least they've all had rewards for you guys. Not only do you just see fun gameplay, great gameplay. Usually in CRL, you're going to see, I mean, not usually in CRL, usually it is CRL, so you see the best gameplay in the world. But, you know, we have these great events that give us 2v2, that give us something like C.H.A.O.S. They're always generous in giving out rewards, and I just absolutely love seeing events like this in the community. And I also love seeing the community get involved. You know, the content creators have done so much for Clash. They're always out there putting in the time, putting in the work, supporting our game, helping the game grow. And so to have events like this, to celebrate them, is always an absolute blast.
Yeah, I mean, I love when Clash Royale celebrates its own, its creators, its pro players. Any sort of way they can do that, I will always appreciate, and I will always support their support. So it's awesome to be the one commentating one of these things, because this was just absolutely a blast. I love this competition through and through.
Yeah, I would love to see more C.H.A.O.S, especially as like they're figuring out, you know, we were talking about during C.H.A.O.S Mode how they kind of adjusted the meta a little bit. So continuing to see balances in an event like that, or in a game mode like that, and also having game modes that everyone at home can just pick up their phone and hop right into. As we're saying, best of 3 duels, best of 5 duels. That's not something that most people can do at home. So to see C.H.A.O.S played at the highest level, super fun. So from everyone here at the Clash Royale team, and of course Clash Royale Esports, we have our monthly final coming your way. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn on your notifications so that you know when we go live. Also, you can follow along with us on X and on Instagram, Clash Royale Esports, or Esports Royale, EN for English. For Joshua, AC, Sharon, I'm Andrew Guy. For the entire Clash Royale team, thank you so much for joining us. Big congratulations to Team Triple Giant, Big Spin, Trimax, and of course Wow, of course, the goated one in Morton. We will see you guys next time for our CRL monthly final in just a couple weeks. Take care.